Good evening and welcome to the 6 p.m. City Council meeting of December 3rd, 2024. All council members are present, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair White.
Please stand if you are able. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we'd like to observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for bearing with us as we started a little bit behind. We're outside with the unveiling of the giving machines, and it was a good opportunity to see that and then run up the stairs to try and warm up, and so maybe a little bit out of breath. We do have some acknowledgements. First off, we'll start with Fernando Morales from our Ogden City Community and Engagement Opportunity Commission to present some acknowledgements. Welcome, Fernando.
Good evening. We'll have presentations of capital announcements today.
So thank you for having us. So in honor of Worldwide Service Month and Military Support Month, we would like to present 2 individuals and an organization making a difference here in Ogden City for the council to recognize publicly. So first we'll recognize Tony Stewart and Brenda Jarina. Tony Stewart was born in Indiana and raised in northern Utah most of his life. Tony has 2 adult sons and 6 grandchildren and is the owner of Inspector Tony Home Inspections. He currently leads teams to do home inspections across the Wasatch. Tony believes that it takes involvement in the community to make a difference for all. Brenda Jarina was born in Los Angeles, raised by a single immigrant mother. Brenda moved to Utah in 2006 and raised 4 sons with Tony. Brenda believes our children are our future and loves to support nonprofits that are making an impact on youth's lives. Brenda started as a volunteer at Youth Impact in 2011, started Casino Night fundraiser in 2017, and is currently on Youth Impact's board. Tony Stewart and Brenda Jarina believe in giving back to their community and have led a team of volunteers that have successfully raised over $400,000 for local nonprofit Youth Impact. Brenda is currently the board chair of Youth Impact. Through their efforts over the past 7 years, Casino Night has become a staple event in our community. Finally, they participate in several community events such as Youth Impact's Car Show, various events for NWAOR, numerous charity golf tournaments, and fundraisers. So our first submission is Tony Stewart and Brenda Jarina. Our second recognition we'd like to present to you is the Military and Family Readiness Center. The Military and Family Readiness Flight at Hill Air Force Base serves as a cornerstone for the well-being and operational readiness of airmen, guardians, and their families. Through its comprehensive programs, the center connects service members with critical resources, support, and guidance to navigate the challenges of military life. Services include deployment support, financial counseling, employment assistance, and tailored aid for families with special needs through the Exceptional Family Member Program. The team also fosters a sense of community with initiatives such as Key Support Liaison Program aimed at building resilience and unity within the units. Over the past year, the flight achieved numerous milestones, showcasing their commitment to supporting the Hill Air Force Base community. They hosted the inaugural EFMP Families Showcase, drawing 220 attendees and highlighting innovative resources for families with special needs. Their collaboration with local partners provided 462 pairs of shoes to military families, saving them $11,500 in holiday costs. Additionally, the team trained 65 voting officers to enhance absentee and early voting efforts and revitalize readiness training for over 19,000 airmen. By hosting impactful events, such as a wheelchair basketball game and a spouse connection campaign, they promoted inclusivity and mission understanding for over 4,700 airmen and their families. These efforts reflect the flight's unwavering dedication to enhancing quality, life, and mission readiness for the Hill Air Force Base community. So we'd like to also present the Military and Family Readiness Center.
Thank you. We'll get some applause here for them.
If Tony and Brenda.
All right.
We can get you to
Yeah.
run up here for the photo. Sorry.
Thank you so much for all of your service.
Come on down. Want to come in? Want to come in? Okay. Yeah. You can come all the way over.
All right, everyone looking here. 1, 2, 3.
Should we get the people from Youth Impact that are here to come up? Would that be okay? Youth Impact people, family. Anybody else you'd like to bring up
All right.
for the picture? Over this way.
1,
Oh.
2, 3. Just everyone in the back.
Uh-huh.
Assuming they know him.
I'm guessing. He brought flowers. I mean, I would let him do it.
All right, okay.
Longer arm.
He has a much longer arm.
We got everybody?
This is the first. I
1,
think this is the
2, 3.
The official.
I look in here. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Tony.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for your service.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks for all your hard work. Okay, I'll take them over.
My hands are so cold. I know. It's like
Hey, thanks so much. Thanks for
Thank
being here.
you so much for everything you do. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yeah,
In your window.
you're good.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, if you want to do something, go for it. Try it out. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
They're gonna do a selfie. They're gonna do a selfie. Now it's a whole trend.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, good job. Thank you. Thank you for you.
I'm going the wrong way.
Maybe I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for getting my hands warmed up.
Congratulations. Oh, you bet.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
That really means it.
That's always good. Thank you so much. Are there any other acknowledgements from any council members that'd like to recognize at this time?
Well, I would love to just recognize what a wonderful time we had the other night at the Electric Light Parade. That was so fun being out there with everyone in the community.
Thank you. I just have one other that Flor Lopez here in the audience, she introduced me to her good friend Edith Vargas. And there's an event coming this Saturday that I think would be great for anybody who's interested in participating or supporting. It's called the Gran Posada. And this was put on by the community, Edith Vargas, who owns the La Changarra Loca. El Changarro Loco, that's it. And so it's a great opportunity there's free food from 3 to 9 on Saturday. Good opportunity to come in and to mingle, to get to know each other, to also support. The purpose is to support gifts and things for children who may be having a hard time having a good Christmas. And it's just it's a really nice way to help the community. So it's again, in the spirit of giving, it'll be a great opportunity.
And they have delicious food.
And they have delicious food. Yep. Okay. Up next, we have a recognition, and Councilmember Chiburka, I'll turn the time over to you.
Oh, great. Well, I'm so excited to offer this recognition this evening. The Ogden City Council and Mayor proudly recognize Onstage Ogden for providing invaluable contributions to the Ogden community. For 75 years, Onstage Ogden has been a staple in Ogden City. Founded in 1949 by Beverly Lund and Ginny Mathieu, the organization began with a Utah Symphony concert at Ogden High School, which was made possible through fundraising efforts. Since then, it has grown into one of Ogden's oldest and most respected nonprofit organizations dedicated to enriching the community through performing arts. Onstage Ogden continues to captivate the greater Ogden area with world-class classical music and dance. Its evolution from the Ogden Guild to the Ogden Symphony Ballet Association and later to Ogden Onstage in 2019 reflects its commitment to fostering a vibrant, engaged community. With a focus on resonant, impactful performances, Onstage Ogden strengthens the community's appreciation for the arts and fosters a sense of unity and cultural pride. As it celebrates the significant milestone, Onstage Ogden's influence on Ogden's arts and culture is undeniable. The organization's long-standing contributions have created a lasting legacy in the community. We look forward to its continued success in inspiring future generations and shaping Ogden's creative future. This is presented on this third day of December 2024. Congratulations. And if you want to bring anybody that's with you, board members or other people from Onstage Ogden. Thank you. Thank you for all of your work.
Congratulations.
Thank
Keep
you.
it up.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks for your. Oh, Flor.
Thank you. We're all wearing so many hats. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Watch out, my coat. I need to fall on my
One
coat,
more,
sorry.
Mara.
Okay.
Come on over.
That coat is a blanket. It's really not sure.
Well, it's going to be helping later, I promise.
Yeah.
Give it time, give it.
It'll be needed later.
All right.
Do you want him to say something? James, do you want to say something?
So I'm James Frederick. I'm the executive director of Onstage Ogden, and I have my board members here with me: Jean Vanneman, Flora Lopez, Christina Myers, and also staff member here, Sarah Bailey. It's great to look around the room and recognize subscribers, donors, former board members, ticket buyers, and know that we're here on my colleagues here with me here tonight. We're accepting this recognition on behalf of thousands of volunteers, staff members, board members who have been a part of the organization since 1949. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, James. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other comments from the council on that or on? Anyway, okay. Appreciate you guys being here. Up next on our agenda, we have a couple of consent items regarding the reappointment of some planning commissioners, Rick Southwick and Jordan Aberg, and the appointment of Bill Ross to the Planning Commission. Do we have a motion on that item?
Want to read the item B?
Oh, yeah, we can do B as well. So the Landmarks Commission, we also have the reappointment of Mandy Shale, Carver Shaw, Sarah Langston, and a reappointment of Richard Krieger.
Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the consent items on the agenda.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Hyer and a second by Councilmember Graff to approve the consent items. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Appears to be unanimous there. Thank you. And I believe Richard Krieger is here. Is that right? He might be here or was.
Maybe
Nope.
he left with everybody else.
All right, that's all right. Thank you for those who were willing to serve on those commissions. Okay. Up next, we have a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendments for the mid-year adjustments. Welcome Justin Sorensen, our finance director, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. I believe we're 1 second while we switch to the right presentation. All righty. Thank you for your time tonight in considering this budget action. The proposed ordinance before you is to recognize a few different items in the city budget. To begin with, the city, in conjunction with National Geographic, are partnering to do a podcast. It's called the 2892 Miles to Go podcast. And with that, National Geographic is providing some funding for that, which also helps to provide for a part-time staff person. But there is a required funding that the city needs to put forward to pay for half of that. And so the first line before you is to use some use fund balance in the amount of $11,300 for that part-time staff position. In management services, we have in the general fund, we have a general fund contingency that we currently have a budget of $200,000, and that can be used for various uses. We will bring that to council for them to propose appropriating that. And there are a few items that we want to use some of that contingency for this year. The first one is to reduce that contingency and increase a line item in the justice court for some equipment to be used to do improvements to the courtrooms by purchasing some TVs and audio equipment at the justice court. So that amount is $40,000. The last item under management services, in the budget in fiscal year 24, we had funded a temporary full-time position in management services for a parking and mobility. That position was not filled during the year, and with the new fund being set up for a full-time position that was adopted with the budget this year, we'd like to appropriate those funds that were not spent last year and transfer those out of the general fund and move them to the new parking and mobility enterprise fund and place them there in a contingency account as things get going with the parking, with everything with parking. Under CED, we received I apologize. I want to make sure I get my notes correct with these because there are quite a few. We are doing an inventory of the Denver Rio Grande Western 223 locomotive, and we're partnering with the Narrow Gauge Preservation Foundation. The cost to do this is $30,000, and at the time this budget was prepared, we're proposing to move $15,000 out of contingency into Union Station for half that cost. And then the foundation also is providing that additional $15,000, and in a future budget opening, we'll bring that for you to recognize that $15,000. In non-departmental, the first item is we have a required training from the FAA for aircraft rescue and firefighting. We failed to budget for that in the airport fund this year, and we're proposing to use some of our general fund contingency and transferring that to the airport fund to be able to use there for that training with the fire department. The other item is we're proposing a use of fund balance to transfer to fleet. And what this will be used for in the budget this year, if you recall, we added several new positions. Some of those positions require a vehicle, and when we went through the budget process, we did not appropriate any funds for those vehicles. So we would like to propose a use of fund balance of $100,000 that would be transferred to our fleet fund to be able to purchase 2 vehicles for two new positions this year, both of them under public services, a senior construction and development coordinator and a recreation supervisor for aquatics. So that is under our non-departmental. And then under public services, we moved a position. Normally, when we have any excess carry forward from a prior year, we'll carry that forward and then we'll notify council of that. But we moved our sustainability position from management services to public services under engineering. And so we want to recognize the funds that they still had available for sustainability, and we're using fund balance to add those funds and then transferring those over to engineering where that position is now located. So the total impact to the general fund is an increase of $259,100. In our CIP fund, we have a couple of items there. The first one, and this will relate to another item further down, is we'd like to recognize a transfer in from BDO of $100,000 that will be added to our general facility improvement CIP. This will be used for the Golden Hours roof that is in need of replacement, and so we'd like to propose that transfer from BDO lease revenue. The other item in the CIP fund is to recognize funds that we're receiving from UDOT that will be used for the light at 20th and Harrison. This is in addition to the 20th Street Improvements project. UDOT is paying for, with that project happening, they wanted to have this signal upgraded, and so they're paying for it, and we're doing that work, so they're providing those funds. So the increase to the CIP fund is $229,275. In the airport fund, the first item is to recognize the transfer in from the general fund of $25,000 that will be used for that ARF training for the fire department. The second one is we received, with the last fiscal year, we appropriated funds for additional improvements at the terminal. We have additional we've been awarded additional funding from the FAA that we'd like to recognize in the amount of just over $1 million. And with that, the total cost of that project, there is match required. And then we also would like to put some contingency aside for the improvements being done at the terminal. And so in order to make that balance, we're proposing $456,000 be transferred from excess BDO lease revenue and move that to the airport to be able to be added to that terminal project. So the total amount being added to the terminal from these different sources is just over $1.5 million. The net increase to the airport fund is $1,489,500. In the parking and mobility fund, this is to recognize that transfer in from the general fund of $139,000 for that temporary full-time position that was funded last year that we did not fill. It'll be put into a contingency account in that fund at this time. And then in BDO, this is to recognize the use of retained earnings that will be transferred to the CIP fund and the airport fund. And just for your information, at the end of fiscal year 24, we had just over $1.3 million in retained earnings in the BDO from BDO lease revenue that had not been appropriated yet. And so this will take that amount down to just over $700,000. In the storm utility, we received some funds from the state regarding from the flooding that occurred last year. These funds are to be used for any expenses that need to happen. We couldn't apply it towards anything that had already been paid for, but we did have some expenses along the river and the kayak park that were needed. And so this is just to recognize that we'd received those funds from the state. So that's an increase of $140,625. In the medical fund, additionally, going back to those positions that I talked about earlier that were added this year, there was a reclass of a position from a firefighter to a fire captain. And with that, there is a vehicle needed for that captain. In working with the fire department, instead of paying for a new vehicle at a full cost, what we're proposing to do, what they would like to do is we're taking a vehicle that is towards the end of its life that was used by recreation, that is being replaced, and we would like to transfer that vehicle over to the fire department that they will then use, and then there is a cost to upfit that vehicle. So that is a use of their retained earnings in the medical fund, and we're going to transfer those over to our fleet and facilities fund to be able to use those there. In the fleet and facilities fund, we would like to recognize the $100,000 transfer from the general fund that will be used for the 2 vehicles for public services, and then the $19,000 amount that will be used for the fire captain position. The total increase to fleet and facilities of $119,100. And then the last one, I appreciate your patience, is to recognize in our major grants fund, or sorry, it should say miscellaneous grants fund, I apologize. In the miscellaneous grants fund is the funding from National Geographic for that podcast. So we're recognizing that $30,000, which will go towards wages and other expenses related to doing that podcast. So the total increase of this budget opening is $2,982,925. So the proposal tonight is to consider this ordinance for adoption.
Thank you, Justin. Any initial comments from the council on this item? All right, if not, it looks like, so this is a public hearing. And so we'd like to, if anyone would like to address the council on this item, please step to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you're online, you can raise your hand and we'll recognize you and allow that time.
Good evening, Linda Sanchez. I feel like all of these little areas should be taken in consideration individually. There may be some of them that I might agree to, but there's some of them that I don't. As far as the Justice Court, why is this Justice Court not, they have quite a bit of revenue. I don't make a whole lot of money, neither do a lot of the citizens in the community. Why are we not saving some of the stuff and living within our means instead of spending more and wanting more? I mean, I'm sure all of you have had to save in order to get things, not just be expected to, let's get a position and have all the luxuries of filling it. The other thing that I would like to say is that as far as the fire chief having a car versus recreation, I feel like this should be a no-brainer. If the truck is already labeled as recreation and you're gonna have to make it like remark it, why not give the new truck to the fire chief? And can we not move around some trucks for the recreation? I feel like one of our goals in the city is to keep everybody safe. And as recreation is important for our mental health and for our children, I feel like fire safety and those first responders probably have a higher priority than maybe recreation. That is just my thoughts, but there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing like a motion on the public hearing. That doesn't look like there's any hands online, so.
Chair, I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing on this item.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Myers to close the public hearing. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Looks like that's a unanimous. All right. So the questions on the Justice Court and the fire truck versus the public parks or the parks vehicle. I don't know if we have somebody who wants to address that from administration. From what I understand, the truck was not being used and it's just being repurposed for that. And so in the vein of trying to live within your means and not just go out and buy a new park or a new truck, this is a way to use that vehicle that was basically not being used, right?
Correct. So the vehicle that Recreation had was nearing the end of its useful life, and so it was up for replacement. So we already had funds set aside through our replacement program to replace that vehicle. This is essentially a new vehicle that needed to be added to our fleet for the fire captain. And the proposal, instead of going and purchasing a $70,000 truck, they decided to take a vehicle that was at the end of its life that they could still use for a few more years and reappropriate it to the medical fund. So Recreation will still have a vehicle. It has been replaced, and then this is to repurpose that. Instead of selling it, normally what we do at the end of the life is we'll take these vehicles and we'll sell them on gov deals at auction. So,
and the adaptations to that truck is just retrofitting for equipment for that
for the captain.
For the captain.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And then the Justice Court. Do you want to address the funds that are being used there?
Yeah. So the Justice Court is in the general fund, and normally there is to provide that service that it costs more than what is generated from the Justice Court. And so if there is any excess, that money goes back into the general fund balance. And so essentially we're using, if there has been anything excess generated, you could say that that's what this is being used for, to be able to do these improvements to the courtrooms.
Okay. Any other questions for Justin or comments or discussion on the council?
I just have a quick comment. I think it gets confusing sometimes, and I definitely had this confusion before I was ever on the council, and sometimes I'm still confused about it. But when we do these kind of budget openings, it doesn't mean that we're spending, increasing the amount that we're asking from people to pay for items. We're kind of moving things around, right? So sometimes it's increasing if we get a grant, but you know what I mean.
Right. Recognizing grant money that's come in, or using some of those savings for those ideas or those areas that need that. Okay, if there's no other discussion, I'd take a motion on this item.
Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the proposed ordinance 2024-32.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Chaburka and a second by Councilmember Blair to adopt proposed ordinance 2024-32, and this is a roll call vote.
Can I just,
Oh.
I just want to make a comment before we.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to follow up with Linda. A lot of times we do separate those, but we had this in a work session, and I don't think any of us had any issues with it. So I just wanted you to know that as well.
Yeah,
A
that's
lot
good.
of times we do separate that.
Thanks for that clarity. No, that's great clarification. Thank you.
Now you can vote.
Now we can go with the roll call. Thanks, Leanne.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Ritchie.
Aye, and that passes. Okay, up next we have a report from our Planning Commission. We'll welcome Barton Briley, our Planning Director, to address a proposed rezone at 340 Washington Boulevard.
Thank you, Chair Ritchie. Good evening, City Councilors. This is a request to rezone a piece of property at 340 Washington Boulevard from the current R15 to C3. Okay. So this shows the location of it. It's the old fire station property, and the part facing Washington Boulevard is zoned C3, and the rear parking lot is actually zoned R16. It's all one property. There's an aerial that shows the site. You can see the existing fire station on the left, and the rear portion, which is the parking lot, which is the subject of the requested rezone, is zoned R16. So the request would be to change it so that the entire property is zoned C3. And how we got to here, when Ogden did its first zoning ordinance back in 1951, Washington Boulevard was all zoned C3, and the boundary was set at 150 feet from Washington Boulevard. And that's how this piece of property, which is more than 150 feet wide, actually got this split zoning. I know in the work session there were some questions about this boundary and how did there's some other little jogs you see in the boundary that aren't meet that 150 foot. So I did go back and check. You can see there's one on the former Rancho Market in 1991 that was changed to CP3, so that's how that got changed. There are two other little jogs that I have not been able to find the ordinance that created those. I'm suspecting those are actually cartographic errors. When you go from a map that's drawn like this, and the width of the line there is actually, using ink, it gets to be like 30 feet wide. And so when that got converted to digital, the cartographer followed the property lines on there, but I think that they may actually be a cartographic error on that. So that's the best best I could do to solve that mystery at this point. But things to consider are consistency with the general plan policies and the Hillcrest Bonneville Community Plan. One of the policies is that zoning boundaries should not cut across individual lots or developments, and so this would comply with that and make the entire property one zone. Did note that there is a cross-access easement for the back property to go to Ogden Avenue. That access would terminate when the city sells the property, and there make some sort of permanent that gate along the property. But that would essentially make that rear part inaccessible from Ogden Avenue, so it would really fit more with the commercial end of the property on Washington. So the property could either be purchased by an adjoining property owner who could incorporate it into their commercial project, or just one buyer use it as is, or demolish the site and use it for a new commercial project. So it does reflect the prevailing character, which is really a commercial character and not the residential character on the rear of Ogden Avenue. Commercial zoning should be located on collector and arterial streets, avoiding local streets that serve residential zones, and this would do that. It would put all the commercial traffic towards Washington and not have any commercial traffic towards Ogden Avenue. The Hillcrest Bonneville plan just says support major commercial nodes, and so this would be supporting that goal. So the Planning Commission heard this item, and they're recommending that you approve the rezone.
Thank you, Barton. Any initial comment or questions for Barton on this? Yes.
Yeah, so my question pertains to that strip of land that goes out to Ogden Avenue again. And what would be the proposed use for that property where we wouldn't allow access coming in from Ogden Avenue so that we don't have commercial exiting out into a residential area?
So the easement itself is owned by the adjoining property owner. Let's see. So this is currently their driveway, and it's just a shared driveway with the fire station property right now. So once that goes away, it'll just be his private driveway, and that easement will go away, and it wouldn't, no one else would be able to use it. So this property would either have to be, you know, if one of these property owners decided to purchase that, they could use it, or it would have to have access out to Washington.
So really, is there a purpose that could be used for by the existing property owner, where the fire station is? There's not, it can't be used as a parking lot because there's no access.
It does become very difficult if it's just by itself, because yeah, you can't get through the fire station itself. So again, if an adjoining property owner, one of these adjoining property owners purchased it, they could get access through that. Otherwise, it's probably going to be demolish the fire station building to use the whole site.
Thank you. Do we have any sense of how it, is there anybody proposing any kind of a reuse of that building? Or are we just doing this preemptively?
We're doing it preemptively so that we can market the property, yes. There has been discussions with the property owner to the south that has expressed some interest, but hasn't come forward with opening their wallet at this point.
I just look at this and I wonder if like Councilmember Myers, I'm not sure how this may end up turning out. I mean, that easement could be reprocured by whoever ends up with this. They could make some kind of an arrangement with the guy that owns the property. It seems like that could happen. Therefore, it may end up being its own parcel. It could be divided into its own parcel. I guess for marketing purposes, maybe it does make sense, but I don't know how, I don't think we have any clue as to how this is going to get reused, and it may end up being something different even yet.
That's accurate, yeah. Yeah, the one possibility, the most favorable possibility was the property owner south acquiring it, using the facility for, you know, automobile maintenance or something like that, but that's only one possibility. There could be
Okay, thanks.
a lot of other permutations.
It does look like even the parking lot is divided by a zoned boundary right now, so.
Yes.
Okay. All right, this is an item we've elected to receive public input on. And so if you'd like to address the council on this item, please step to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. And we have online, if you'd like to raise your hand, you can do that as well.
Hi, Travis Pate, Ogden resident. The dynamic that I see with this is if you look at the historic property lines, then this was, so to speak, the backyards taken and added to the fire station property. And you did the same thing off of 2nd Street as they were realigning their Waynesguards property, that the same property owner purchased the Ogden Avenue site and took half their backyard and added it to the development of Waynesguards. And I think it's roughly the same thing that happened with this fire station property. And so to then say, we're now going to change it to commercial with 0 restrictions, and we're just going to allow the actual commercial zoning to take effect. Our general plan says view corridor and vista preservation. So if those were my backyards that now that face the fire station currently, and that's my abutters alley, or the easement, which says I was only has to go without use for 6 months. But if somebody somehow perpetuates that use, then the poor individual that owns that property, that's been paying taxes on the property, that has an easement across the property, doesn't have it all right back to himself as soon as we sell it. It says 6 months if you read the paperwork, that's without 6 months use. So it's a misnomer that would be just vacated if we sell the property. And the other dynamic would be if we should change this to follow the current property line and say, yes, it is there, then there needs to be some restrictions put on that section that says, no, we're not going to build a commercial wall against these people's backyards. They'll no longer see the sunset. There has to be a greater easement than just what's allowed in the commercial zone for those people, at least to align with that original property line, the 150 feet, as Mr. Brierley had said. And so if you look, it flags it. So obviously they bought it back someone else's backyard just north of theirs, because otherwise it wouldn't be an L shape. And so I think the dynamic to me is protecting the property owners, not just doing a blanket, yes, well, rezone, like you did on Ogden Avenue and the Waynesguards property, blanket rezone. They can build those commercials right up to the property line practically, except where it adjoins an R1, because they continue to change the dynamics of what's allowed. If it's an R1, yeah, then, well, you can build within this feet. But now R3 and all the others that you're aligning commercial with, they have, it's just a quagmire of a mess. So I'd say if it chooses to be rezoned tonight, then there has to be some restrictions on this property with regards to setbacks from the Ogden Avenue property. And then also the part where it says vacation for 6 months should be just done. As soon as the sale happens, the easement's gone.
Thank you, Travis.
Hi, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. I share some of Travis's concerns, but I haven't looked at this nearly as deeply as he has. I did have a question. It's not rhetorical. It's a genuine question of, does it make sense to rezone it now before we have any idea of what the site might be used for? Is this something where we could market it and look at what some proposals are before we choose to just open it up to commercial, backing right up to those residential units? That's all. Thanks.
Linda Sanchez, I just want to know, has anybody reached out to the property owners and got input of what they're thinking or their ideas about that, where it's affecting basically them, not necessarily the rest of the city? Has anybody offered to find out what their concerns are, what their problems are with that? That would be my only, we should be protecting the property owners and those that are around that it's impacting. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Any other comments? Okay. With that, I do believe the property owners were noticed on that with when it went through the Planning Commission. And I'm just trying to remember when I read through that report if there was any comments from neighbors. Barton, I don't know if you want to address that item, and then also the easement and vacation, as well as the setbacks and the rezoning purpose.
Yes.
I think the rezoning purpose was just, like you mentioned, preemptive, but anyway, go ahead.
So on talking to property owners, yes, we met with the property owner with the easement and spoke with them, and the Planning Commission actually continued the hearing to allow them more time to comment. So, and their main concern was just what's going to happen with the easement, that, you know, is this actually going to go away when the fire station goes away? And so we were able to get the paperwork from that and look at it. So yes, those contacts were made. As far as the easement itself, it's a written document. It's a private agreement between the two property owners. One of the property owners has to be the city, but that would go away within 6 months. And as far as the setbacks, there is a requirement that you set back between a residential property and a commercial property 30 feet, and that there's maximum fence height of, I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7 feet, so you couldn't just build a huge wall there or a building right up against that property line.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on the council?
What about, and I apologize, what about the idea that Travis proposed or somebody just proposed about putting it out to market and then seeing what the proposals are before it gets approved?
That's certainly an option that the council can do. I think the concern is if you put it out to market, they'll say, what's it zoned? It's zoned residential. Okay, what kind of house can I put there? Or if you're going to do, if it's not zoned for commercial, no one's going to propose any commercial development on it. So that would be the concern.
Well, I guess I
could
thought
do
you
that.
meant it was marketable for the firehouse, but you just mean that one piece of property?
Well, if you put it out to market, you would have to tell anybody the front is commercial, the back is residential, so don't think about doing anything commercial in the back because it's not zoned for residential. You could propose a rezone, but that may or may not be approved. So
Well,
we're
I thought
looking
it was, I guess what I was thinking is they would work with the city and they wouldn't have to propose that necessarily because that'd be part of the, you know, purchasing it like we do with developers all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you could do something that would put some obstacles in the way of somebody proposing, but you could do that.
But we'd have more control then on what it was.
Yeah.
I think we have some guidelines in our zoning ordinance that says that we shouldn't have properties divided by zoning lines and some of those kind of things anyway. So that makes this an awkward parcel. And I'm sharing the same feelings that Linda and everybody else has kind of brought up, but I think we kind of do have to get it into the same zone if we're going to sell it. It may at that point, whoever wants to buy it may want to do something different, and they might propose something different. And that's why I say I don't know that we know how it will eventually develop, but I think we've got to get it under the same zone. And I guess that could be residential, but that doesn't seem practical.
So you did you engaged the residents, right?
Yes.
And they weren't interested in purchasing that sliver? Did you even offer that and then subdividing that property up?
Yeah, we didn't get that. Yes, we didn't make that offer or have that discussion.
I think that's what I heard.
Any other comments or discussion? All right. I do see that as having that as a bargaining chip may be nice to have, but I also think from a buyer standpoint, knowing that it would have to go through some kind of a process might limit potential buyers that may not be willing to go through that, or I don't know. It's a thought, but.
Mr. Chair, having listened to the options today, And also, based on the Planning Commission and Martin's recommendation to us, I'd like to make a motion to approve proposed ordinance 2024-33, rezoning the property at 340 Washington Boulevard.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Myers and a second by Councilmember Hyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2024-33, and this is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka,
No.
Councilmember Graff,
Aye.
Councilmember Hyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Myers,
Aye.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Ritchie.
Aye, and that passes. Thank you, Barton. Okay. Oh, what else?
That's okay. I mean, I think.
Oh,
I just
sorry,
agree
yeah.
with, the residents that spoke, and also maybe we could have offered it to the residents first.
Okay, thank you. We have a new business item, a proposed resolution 2024-14. And first up to present on this, we have Janine Eller-Smith, and she'll just address us from the dais, and then we'll invite Andy Beatles, the Executive Director of the Weber Housing Authority, to come and make a presentation.
Thank you, Chair Ritchie. So Weber Housing Authority is requesting the council authorize a resolution to allow them to complete a project at 2325 Madison Avenue. State law requires that a county housing authority seek permission to complete projects in a city. They also need authority from the city housing authority if there is one. So Weber Housing Authority has been working on this project for quite a while. It's going to be permanent supportive housing for people with disabilities who are currently experiencing homelessness. They originally came to the Planning Commission in August of 2020. They came to the Planning Commission in 2023. The Planning Commission found that there were several issues that need to be addressed before the project would comply with Ogden General Plan. So Weber Housing Authority made some changes to their project, and in August of 2024, the Planning Commission found that the proposed project was consistent with the general plan. So the resolution you're considering tonight limits the authorization to this specific project, 2325 Madison. If the Housing Authority wanted to do another project in Ogden sometime in the future, they would need to come back to the council to request another resolution finding a need for that project. So Andy, as you mentioned, Andy is here. Andy Beatles, the Executive Director of Weber Housing, is here, and she'll review the project with you and answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share this vision for Weber Housing Authority's Permanent Supportive Housing Program. I'm Andy Beatles. I've been the Executive Director of the Housing Authority since 2012. I've been with the Weber Housing Authority since 2009. And it has been a privilege to assist with the affordable housing needs in this great community. And then I control the slides, right? Just right here. Okay, awesome. So we are separating from Weber County. The Weber Housing Authority, since inception, has received administrative support from Weber County. This support has been instrumental in allowing the Weber Housing Authority to become established and build a strong foundation from which to become self-sufficient. Over the last few years, the Weber Housing Authority has increased income producing assets and is in a position to be successful without the support of the county. Over the past 10 years, Weber County and Weber Housing Authority have collectively worked towards this goal. Weber County will still appoint an elected official to the Weber Housing Authority Board, and the Weber Housing Authority will still continue to provide housing support to the Weber County Corporation. Weber Housing Authority has a very dedicated and involved board that is aware of the unique issues that the community faces and diligently works to find solutions. Most of my board is here tonight. As the oversight body of the Weber Housing Authority, the board will ensure that this project succeeds and is managed with the highest standards. In addition, as the executive director, I am also committed to ensuring that this project is successful adds value to the community, and promotes human dignity. Okay, so getting into the project and specifically how we got to where we're at. The Weber Morgan Local Homeless Council is a local designated oversight body that is responsible for developing a common agenda and vision for reducing homelessness in their respective regions, developing a spending plan that coordinates the funding supplied to local stakeholders, and aligning local funding to projects that improve outcomes and target specific needs in the community. In 2021, the Weber Morgan Local Homeless Council began discussing the need for a single site property that could house our most vulnerable, chronic, and severe homeless individuals. It was around this time that one of our regular homeless consumers died of exposure right outside the Weber Human Services building. The individuals intended for the project have been housed multiple times, and without constant oversight, they have not been successful. With the support of the Weber Morgan Local Homeless Council and the Weber Housing Authority Board, Weber Housing Authority began looking for a site for a permanent supportive housing project. It should be noted that the Weber Housing Authority searched for properties outside of Ogden City, but was not able to identify a property that met the requirements and was within the price range set forth. In addition, the population needed to access the community resources that are available in Ogden City. The population to be served is chronically homeless, disabled, unaccompanied individuals. Individuals must meet the chronic definition of homelessness and be referred through the coordinated entry process. As you'll recall, the coordinated entry process is a community waiting list that all homeless housing service providers house from. And then I just want to define a few phrases that you'll hear me discuss throughout this presentation. The first is housing first. The housing first approach recognizes that housing is the immediate solution to homelessness, but not the only solution. Housing first offers support such as substance use treatment, legal aid, or job training. At the same time as housing, and continues to offer support long after people are housed to prevent them from losing their home again. One element that sets Housing First apart from other approaches is that it does not force people to accept support. Forced mental health and substance use treatment is proven to be largely ineffective and to have unintended, harmful, and even deadly consequences. Chronically homeless, as shown on the screen, is defined as an individual that has been homeless for 1 year or more and has had 4 episodes of homelessness in the last 3 years, totaling 1 year. And in addition, this population, in addition to being chronically homeless, they also have to have a disabling condition, which is defined by the McKinney-Vento Assistance Act as a homeless individual who is homeless, has a disability that significantly limits their ability to live independently, has a disability that could be improved with better housing, and has a physical or mental or emotional impairment. So the Weber Housing Authority has successfully administered a scattered site permanent supportive housing program since 2010 and has successfully transitioned 78 disabled individuals from chronic homelessness to stable housing with comprehensive support services. On average, participants remain engaged in these programs for 22 months before moving on to other permanent housing destinations. During their time with us, individuals receive weekly services, regular case management interactions, and access to monthly community workshops. Of the 78 individuals who have transitioned to permanent housing destinations, 18 have unfortunately returned to homelessness within 2 years. However, the program has made a significant impact, with 60 individuals maintaining permanent housing and stability. The majority are still housed today. This program has proven to be life-changing for many, offering not only housing, but the critical services needed to ensure long-term success and self-sufficiency. And then just in reference to what you see on the screen, we currently have a budget solely for case management of $223,643 annually. There are currently 49 chronically homeless disabled individuals on our coordinated entry waiting list, and the proposed project has 25 units available. We do have a 92% success rate of individuals remaining stably housed in 2023. The next number is the amount that it costs to house a chronically homeless individual. And then I just want to point out that this project will not utilize any Ogden City taxpayer dollars. This project is 100% funded through grants and will not require assistance from Ogden City. This includes financial assistance as well as city resources. Permanent supportive housing is housing assistance linked with case management, and while we fully expect issues, most issues will be dealt with in-house and will not require Ogden City emergency services. Case management is the key to a successful permanent supportive housing project. This project will have 3 full-time case managers and 1 full-time program manager. The project will have 24-hour oversight and 2 residential monitors. In addition, during regular business hours, the entire Weber Housing Authority staff will be on site to address any issues. As I mentioned, case management is the key for this program to be successful. So what does case management look like? Following best practices, case management services will be provided by Weber Housing Authority, Weber Human Services, and partnering agencies participating throughout the county. Case managers, therapists, and peer support specialists will work with each participant in their transition to self-sufficiency. Employment and education will be encouraged. Education classes will be offered in resume writing, job interviewing, completing an application, etc. Case management teams will provide counseling in areas of life skills, healthy living, cleanliness, personal hygiene, education, and employment advancement. Group self-sufficiency classes will be offered on site, and private office space will be available for case managers and therapists to provide individualized services. Peer support specialists from Weber Human Services will be housed on site. Social events such as bingo, karaoke, and movie nights will be coordinated and arranged by staff and residents. Again, case management will be provided daily at the project. Each participant on the program is required to complete an individual service plan outlining goals they would like to accomplish throughout the month. Case managers work with the participant to identify steps to complete each goal. Case managers also identify triggers that have led to homelessness in the past in an effort to avoid those triggers in the future. As mentioned, 2 night resident monitors and 1 case manager will oversee the nighttime hours. The client ratio is 1:8, ensuring individualized and intensive case management services. The program goals are first, self-sufficiency. So self-sufficiency looks different for each resident, but we intend to guide each individual to become as self-sufficient as possible. Income is the key to that. In each participant's individual service plan, they will be expected to gain income. Finally, mental health and substance use treatment will be strongly encouraged, so much so that we have partnered with Weber Human Services, who will provide additional case management services on site. So Weber Human Services case management is in addition to the 3 full-time case managers plus the program manager. And again, we have included Weber Human Services office space in the renovation. In addition, one of our highest priorities is maintaining permanent housing, which includes case management to assist individuals in becoming accustomed to lease living. This includes lease compliance, upkeep of their unit, paying rent on time, and being neighborly. This is the renovation budget for the project. We have secured funding from the following sources, and then in response to our RFP, our general contractor is local and subcontractors for the project are also local. The renovation period is expected to be 6 to 8 months. We are working with a local architect, MSR. This is a rendering of the project. Some key features of the facility are a large community room. I don't know if I can show you, but it's on the right-hand side in that light.
Brandon, do you want to show her how to do the cursor?
Oh, perfect. Okay. So this area here where the cursor is, this is a large community room where activities and socializing are expected to take place. And then this is a large outdoor area with a garden and outdoor seating in this area right here. And then around the facility are the individual units. These along here and along here and along this door, or this south side and this south side. And then these will be Weber Human Services office buildings. The property will be rehabbed and converted into single-room occupancy units. The property features a full commercial kitchen, laundry facility, cafeteria, community room, central garden, and theater room. It will accommodate 25 SRO units, and again, office space will be available for supportive services and staff. These are some renderings when the units have been rehabbed and are ready to be occupied. And there's a few of them. So each unit consists of a small room with a kitchenette and small bathroom without shower facilities. There will be a women's dorm and a men's dorm, each with 2 showers, allowing residents to share the shower with 6 other residents. Each unit has a window and sufficient storage space for personal items, as you can see. Okay, so this is our rental income budget. So in addition to the grant secured for case management, now this is separate from the renovation budget. This is our ongoing operations income. So the Weber Housing Authority has secured the Attainable Housing Grant through the State Homeless Services Office. This grant will allow a rental subsidy on each SRO unit, allowing the Weber Housing Authority to charge each participant 30% of their income as their portion of the rent, and then collecting the remainder of the $900 rent from the grant. This will allow the Weber Housing Authority to collect an additional $22,500 each month that will be reinvested into the project. Again, this will not be used for case management, but for operation and improvements to the building, not staffing. The project will not carry debt, ensuring that cash flow be reinvested into the project. There has been concern expressed regarding the ongoing condition of the property and the ability to maintain and upkeep the property. And I'd like to assure the council that the project will be well maintained and will not become an eyesore. I would never allow that to happen, and neither would the Weber Housing Authority Board. In our role as community partners, we will ensure that the property looks its best. It is expected that residents will assist with property upkeep and will feel pride in calling this property their home. Unhoused individuals will not be allowed to sleep on the property. In addition, guests are not allowed on the property. This is our annual operating budget. Again, case management is not included in the annual operating budget, as we have the $223,643 specifically for case management, and then our operating budget is $270,000 annually. So if you'll take a look at the handout that I provided titled Excerpt from Ogden CAN 2024 Annual Report, it shows that the Ogden East Central neighborhood is improving fairly dramatically. I'd like to read a few of the significant changes in this area. Number 1, there are 919 fewer residents. There has been a 51% reduction in those living in poverty. Again, this is specific to the East Central neighborhood. There has been a 69% increase in median household income, a 27% reduction in those paying more than 30% of their incomes towards rent, a 21% increase in those with a high school diploma. These are incredible improvements in this neighborhood. In conclusion, homelessness is not just a Weber Housing Authority problem. It's a call to action. Every person without a safe place to call home is a reminder that we have the power to make a difference. Through compassion, collaboration, and innovation, we can create lasting change. As one of my favorite authors, Matthew Desmond, wrote in the book, Poverty by America, if you have found security and prosperity and wish the same for your neighbors, if you demand a dignified life for all people in America, and I will include Ogden, Utah as well, if you love fairness and justice and want no part in exploitation for personal gain, if all the hardship in your country violates the sense of your decency, this is your fight. We can build a future where our most vulnerable homeless neighbors have a place that they can call home and begin to rebuild their lives. Thank you again for your time, and I will open the presentation up for questions.
Thank you, Andy. Brandon, does this handout, can we make sure this is on our website after? Can we can do that? Okay. For those that are listening online or want to reference this later. Okay.
And they're welcome. My email's here. You're welcome to email me, and I'm happy to email it out.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
Chair, may I
Yes.
make a comment? Well, and I apologize. I wasn't here at the meeting in the work session when you presented, so I just wanted to make a quick comment and really give my full support to the project as one of the only council members that lives in this neighborhood. I think the most important thing for me to note is that many of the individuals that Andy's talking about are already my neighbors. They're in my neighborhood. They're at Lester Park. They're at the library. They're at the First Baptist Church. These are folks that I've lived there for almost 13 years now, and they're the same people that I see.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that in your minds that if we have this type of facility where there's staff on site 24 hours a day, that these folks may still be in the library or in the park, but they will have these kinds of supports to go back home to rather than being partially clothed, sleeping in the park overnight, and doing other things that scare people to go to the park that we've talked about in those Lester Park meetings. They'll instead have a home where they go and get the support that they need. And I've heard the success stories of folks that have been in these types of programs too.
Yeah.
And I've served with Andy and others on that homeless coordinating council for the council when I was on this council, as well as worked with all the other not-for-profit organizations in the community. And so I trust that they are doing the best that they can for this community. So I just wanted to give that support.
Thank you, Angela. I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Andy or?
So I do, so when we met the other day, you said these individuals are already housed somewhere else, that you're just trying to bring them into more.
So there are 9 individuals currently in our SHIP program, which is our Supportive Housing Initiative project. And then the rest will be pulled from the coordinated entry waiting list. So it's kind of a combination. So there's 25 units, and then, 9 of those will be housed with those individuals. The rest will be pulled from coordinated entry.
Just kind of along those same lines, because when we met, I want to make sure I understood correctly that scattered approach. I know there are some challenges with that, and bringing them together. There's a lot of advantages. Will those scattered locations close down, or will they continue to serve? What's the plan with that approach?
So we assume that we will phase that program out. So as individuals transition, and that is the goal. The goal is that they're on the program, and historically they've been on the program about 22 months, and then they can transition to either a housing choice voucher or into the community without a rental subsidy. And so our hope is that we can, phase those 22 scattered site, 22 scattered site vouchers out.
Okay.
Yeah, good question.
So not necessarily immediately closing those down, but the goal is eventually to do that. And you mentioned some of the challenges there is there's not the ability to monitor who's going on and off those properties, but in this location, can you talk a little bit more about how that would work?
So currently in our scattered site model, we do provide case management, but we contract with private landlords throughout the community, and case managers travel to their units. This has caused a lot of issues, especially for our most vulnerable and our most mentally ill, in that they're so vulnerable that usually they're taken advantage of by other community members and other homeless individuals. To the point sometimes, I think I mentioned this to a couple of council members, that even they've been kicked out of their own unit and their homeless friends move in. And so we feel like they could, and so we've housed them multiple times in multiple locations, but we feel like they could be successful with 24-hour oversight. So with this project and the case management that we've set up and the oversight that we're able to provide, we do feel like that they will be able to be successful in a single site location.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. What was the, I know the operating budget, but what was the budget to find a location? What was that budget? What was the dollar amount you had set aside?
Oh, here, I can go back to it. So it was 1.7.
Okay.
Yeah, so the purchase price.
There it is, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
And what other communities did you look into?
So we had a realtor that was looking all throughout Weber County. So specifically West Haven and Pleasant View. See, and I think as I met with some of the council members, we did talk about this. So for this price, we could not build a facility in a surrounding neighborhood. And And then also we did need to be close to community services. But we did look all throughout the county and even approached hotels and motels in the hope that they would sell for, our budget, what we had allocated for the project.
And then, do you have any permanent supportive housing projects anywhere else?
No, we
This
don't.
would be the first?
Yep, this will be the first, yeah. We have a project on 9th and Wall that has some homeless set aside, but it's not a permanent supportive housing project.
Okay.
Chair, I've got a question or two.
Yes.
Yep.
You mentioned that the criteria that you were, you were looked everywhere, and this was the only place that met the criteria. What is that criteria?
Well, it met our needs. So we needed something that we could still provide oversight, but then that still offered space, community space. Let me get to that rendering. So that provided community space, had a community kitchen, had laundry facilities, and then a place for classes. In this middle area here, this white area, there's a garden. So we're hopeful that residents will help with the garden, and then we can use that food to cook healthy meals. We needed enough space for resident monitors, but then also complete oversight of the building, and then also something that could provide the Weber Housing Authority offices with that space. So as we were looking at other hotels that we wouldn't have to, that we would just have to do light renovation to, nothing met this need as far as complete oversight in this, box kind of circle flowing model that we were looking for.
And who was the realtor you were using to make the search?
Yep, Robert Bolar was our realtor.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And do you, on this map, you've got the main entrance, right? And then it looks like there are 4 other entrance / exits. Are those, or would those be monitored, or those, or how would that work? Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So right here, this is the this will be the public space here that the public will have access to, and then this is closed off. So we didn't want the public space to be accessible to the resident space and vice versa. So yes, these other doors will be monitored. They are currently monitored, but there will be a key fob. So each participant has their own code to get into the building, and will have to use that code at those locations to get into the building. But it will also be monitored, and each staff has this, will have this on their phone, and they can view it from home, but then also the staff on site will have access to that as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, guests will not be allowed in the facility.
Chair, may I also make an additional comment? I was actually having a talk with a resident as we were coming in. One of their concerns was that they have had a lot of traffic in that area on that block with people scattering their belongings or shopping carts or just different kinds of things that they had concern about. And what I was saying is that from knocking on doors in that area, but also walking my dogs around the block in that area quite often, we do have some apartment complexes close by that have some challenges. So I'm not going to, sugarcoat that in any way. But that is a challenge that we have to place on those landlords and also on the situation that we're kind of talking about here. And I don't know what the situation is of all the people living in those apartments, but I think that sometimes people get taken advantage of, and then there's extra people loitering or living in those areas that shouldn't be. And so having an office like this right there with people, not the residents necessarily, but with the office personnel there that understand these challenges and perhaps calling, law enforcement or helping to get involved in some solutions for that, I feel like it will actually improve that area quite a bit because with presence of people there all the time is going to be different. It was a nursing home in the past, so obviously there was staff there at that time, but it has been vacant for quite a while. So I feel like that's probably causing some of those challenges too. So for me, I feel like this will actually improve those situations because that resource is there and there's people there all the time. And so I think that might be helpful because there are challenges on that street.
Yeah, for sure.
So Andy, I have a question. You said that it's zero taxpayer dollars because we're not offering any incentives.
Right.
However, I assume you'll still not pay property taxes, right? Because you'll be considered a nonprofit or quasi-governmental, I don't know what you said. You said governmental entity?
Yeah, public body.
Yeah, public body.
Yeah.
So you won't pay any property taxes?
So we haven't discussed that yet with the county, but I assume that we wouldn't. Yeah.
Well, county and city, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion? Or initial questions or discussion? Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Annie.
much.
We have elected to receive public input on this item. And just for meeting management's sake, can I get just a show of hands of who is here to address the council on this topic or would like to speak on this? Okay. We definitely appreciate that. I see there's a hand online as well. And just in the interest of that time, wanting to manage that, we'd like to, if you'd like to address the council on this item, we ask you to come to the podium. We're going to ask you to limit your comments to 2 minutes just to allow us to get through that. It looks like there's a large number who would like to address on this. What's that? And so yeah, please step to the podium and address state your name for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is John Graff. I'm the Executive Director for the Homeless Veterans Fellowship here in Ogden. I'm new to Ogden. I'm a 23-year Army veteran, having been born here and served out of the state for an extensive period of time. I say that to let you know that I know many of the challenges that my veterans that I serve face. I do want to speak in support of this program, as we do have a permanent supportive housing project here within a block of that location. And I would venture to say that many of you don't even know it's there. We currently serve 9 veterans through permanent supportive housing. This is provided through a state grant. We spend less than $11,000 on each veteran to provide this effort. Nationwide, you're spending over $46,000 for services per person experiencing homelessness. The national average for permanent supportive housing is right around $17,000, so we're doing it for quite a bit less. But I would say we're able to do that because we have a very good transitional housing program where we're able to address barriers that our veterans face, whether it's mental health challenges, physical challenges, or even just challenges with being able to afford housing. We are serving right now over 350 veterans and their families across the state. We serve every county except for Salt Lake County. And we are serving 58 veterans more per month this year than we were at this time last year. So this is not a problem that's going to go away. But with that said, because we have an on-site therapist, because we provide on-site case management, we're able to provide that safety net where with the minimal amount of effort, we can provide these veterans with a stable environment that they need to be successful, to be able to address barriers, to overcome their challenges, and to be able to be successful. Over 80% of our veterans who come into the transitional housing program are successful in graduating from that, and over 96% of those maintain permanent housing for 2 or more years after they leave. For those that are not able to do that, we have this permanent project, and again, we've had no issues, no challenges, no cost for EMS services or anything else that result as a result of that safety net that we provide. So thank you for your
John.
time.
Wayne Niederhauser, State Homelessness Coordinator, Director of the Office of Homeless Services. This project entered into a competitive bid process for projects all over the state. And they were awarded because of the best practices they're implementing into this project. Permanent supportive housing, when we rate impact on those who are experiencing homelessness and those who are in the community surrounding facilities, unsheltered population is the highest impact. The next highest is shelter. And by the way, I just want to thank Ogden City for what you already do for the homeless services system in your region, because you become kind of a regional facility for with Lantern House, and so we appreciate what Ogden City is doing. But when we're talking about impact, it is substantially reduced when people are in housing. When people are able to get this, not just in housing, but to have the services. And the model that is being presented today is the most successful model there is. I can take you to Denver Street. I can take you to all kinds of permanent supportive housing in this state that has the services with the housing, and the impacts are substantially reduced. If we could get everybody out of shelter and off the street and in this type of facility, it would be much less impactful on Ogden, on everybody. And so we encourage support for this. We support it. The grant programs that we created were designed to do this and to reduce those impacts. I just say also that the case management is key, and there will be monitoring by our office to make sure that the case management is there and it's operational, that there are case management plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Wayne.
Hello, my name is Emily, and I'm an Ogden City resident. I'm here because I am against this, and I hate saying that, but I live directly north of the building. I can see from my front door, through my small tiny house, I can see a full hallway and the exit sign on the south side of the facility. Where I currently live, it doesn't feel safe already. I've had heavy drug users on my porch about 3 times in the course of 2 years, asking for things. One passed out, soiled themselves, and it's just me and my 7-year-old daughter who live there. It's not a safe neighborhood. I've had gunshots, police surrounding my house, searching for the people, like shooting the guns. There's already unhoused people. Anyway, but it's already unsafe. That's fine. I bought the house. I live there. I'm doing my best to restore it and, keep its historical integrity. I feel like I'm the ideal community member, planting, gorgeous plants in my front yard, doing everything I can to make it better. I want Ogden City to be vibrant and gorgeous. But there's already so many issues in the neighborhood currently. I want to think that it would help the neighborhood, but I feel like it wouldn't. There is an empty lot directly next to my house, and that is not kept. In the spring, I received a letter from the city saying that I needed to maintain that lot. It is not my lot. That lot is owned by Weber County Housing Authority. I called them. I said, I cannot maintain this. I don't have the equipment. I'm doing xeriscaping in my yard. They said, oh, we'll get our regular landscapers on it. No one has touched that lot. So I have very little faith that if things were to go wrong, that it would not be addressed. With something as simple as maintaining an empty lot isn't done. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. Emily, what was your last name? I'm sorry. Taylor. Okay, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Lisa. I was asked to read you folks this letter. I lived in Ogden, Utah. I was a participant on the Weber Housing Authority's Permanent Supportive Housing Program from 2012 to 2015. I was born and raised here in Ogden, Utah. For most of my life, I've lived. I returned to Utah after living a short time in the Midwest to reunite with my children who live in this city. I found myself homeless and residing at St. Anne's Shelter. It no longer stands. I was there for 3 months before I was enrolled on the Permanent Supportive Housing Program. While I was on the program, I liked being out of the shelter and under my own roof and running my own household. I liked the independence of having my own place. While I was on the program, I worked with case managers at St. Anne's Center, Jill and Deja, and Weber Housing Authority case managers, Billy and Laura, to get my income on its way. In 2014, I learned that I qualified for Social Security and worked through an attorney and the Social Security office here in town to receive my income. Jill and Laura helped me find a unit in a house. I had been looking for a house because I didn't want to live in an apartment because of issues. The unit we found had a washer hookup, which I love. In 2015, I moved off the permanent supportive housing program and onto the Housing Choice Voucher Program, where I have remained since. I had to work really hard to get where I am, folks, and I would like to say I don't understand why people that are homeless choose to stay homeless, especially in today's world. My advice is you have to do what the housing people tell you. It's your responsibility to do the footwork. If you do, they'll help you. One day I would like to rent a house of my own. I'm just so grateful to be housed. I feel safe, secure, and happy. I pray every night, thank you, Lord, that I'm in housing, healthy, and happy. Respectfully, me. I would also like to say, Andy doesn't know I'm saying this, I am so grateful to have housing and a roof over my head and 4 walls that I call them the end of every month or the first of the new month, and I thank them for helping me pay my rent. I don't think they have any other clients that do that, and I want to say I am proud of myself, both for being housed and staying housed, and that I call them and thank them for their help. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Lisa, what was your last name?
C-O-O-K.
Cook.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Eastman. I'm the Executive Director of Weber Human Services here in Ogden. I'm finishing my 32nd year of employment at Weber Human Services, and as long as I've been employed there have always been 10 to 15 of our hardest, most severely mentally ill individuals who are always homeless. And he talks about those 42 that are eligible right now. I want to narrow that focus just to these 10 to 15 that we know are always existing, and they're always going to be homeless. And the reason they are is they're, without that supervision model that she described, they're blacklisted. They won't be able to be rented to any landlord. These 10 to 15 are blacklisted currently. So they destroy housing without that supervision, without that monitoring, without that model. And where they choose to live is downtown Ogden. That's where the resources are. Before we were able to pull them off the street and provide this type of model, and again, in my 32-year career, I've never seen us have success like we've had in the last 3 years, where we've provided this supervision model directly in a environment where we can oversee that, monitor that on a daily basis. If we're at the mercy of going into the apartment, we're at the mercy of not being able to find the client, and they're roaming the streets. And frankly, no one is enjoying themselves when they're in downtown Ogden with their family, going to dinner, and you see someone coming at you who's responding to internal stimuli, and they're yelling and screaming in vulgarities, and you're just wishing you were on the other side of the street to get by them. This type of program, we're able to pull these individuals, these severe cases, off the street. For the first time, we've seen some success with them in working with them, and they're actually making progress. I just want to say the Weber Housing Authority is the perfect landlord for these individuals. Rather than allow these people to live in that 10 to 12 city radius downtown Ogden on the streets, I would just urge you, Ogden's had its fair share, for sure. These people are not going to leave Ogden. We hope to have a greater partnership with the city and be able to house these people in these particularly 10 to 15 hard cases in an environment where we can have success. Thank you,
Kevin.
Linda Sanchez, I want to talk as a full-time nurse with the veterans at the Veterans Home. I am really in support of this. Not only does it help our veterans that help to secure each one of your liberties and freedoms, but it also helps those that are most vulnerable. And 92% success rate? Are you kidding me? With none of taxpayer dollars going to this? This is a no-brainer. I know sometimes you have a portion that you guys were wanting to kind of disperse, but sometimes the right thing is just the right thing. Senior house, I worked with Anna Davison. Since we were talking, since COVID, senior homelessness has risen since then dramatically. And those affected would just, we talked about this before, they would just take even a corner of your garage. But this program here, it is like the complete circle. It gives them the skills they need, the mindset, the support. Some people don't have family support. I really like this. I am all in favor of this. And when I listen to this, it's like when God or the universe gives you a gift, you don't reject it. This is like the perfect place, the perfect building. It's really like just set up for it. And I can understand the girl's concern, a neighbor. And I'm sure that people will be, there could be somebody that in that Weber housing, that if there is concerns that need to be addressed, that they could have somebody to speak to them, you know, to be collaborative. We talked about the community as a family, right? This is that portion. It is just perfect.
Thank you, Linda.
Good evening, council members. My name is Julie Johnson. I'm president and CEO of United Way of Northern Utah. I'm here tonight to ask for your support of the housing project that will provide a safe and stable home for 25 disabled individuals in our community. This is not a homeless shelter. This is supportive housing. It's a vital resource for people who have been pushed into homelessness, not because they chose it, but because they lacked the housing they could afford and the support they needed to remain stable. These are individuals who at one time were housed just like you and me. They lived in apartments or houses, went to work, and contributed to their communities, but due to circumstances like their disability or a medical crisis or rising rents, they lost their housing, and with it, they lost their stability. Supportive housing will change that. It's designed to give people the tools they need to succeed. With affordable rent and tailored supportive services, these individuals can regain their independence and live with dignity. This is not just a compassionate decision, it's a practical one. Stable housing leads to fewer emergency room visits, reduced reliance on crisis services, and stronger, healthier communities overall. By voting and supporting this, you're not only giving 25 people a chance to rebuild their lives, you're also strengthening the fabric of our community. These individuals were housed before, and they can be housed again. Let's make this happen together and increase the fabric of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Let's take a minute here to pivot to those online. So it looks like we have 2 hands currently online, so we'll go first to Amy Fowler. And Amy, okay, there we go.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Perfect. Thank you, council members. My name is Amy Fowler. I am a Salt Lake City resident. However, for the last 2 years, I have been working as a public defender in Ogden. Public defense has my heart. I've been a public defender for years. Ogden is a special place because I grew up there and also has my heart. As I look at this project, I think of so many of the individuals who I have had the opportunity to meet as a public defender, who I know would not only benefit from this project, but would thrive. They would find the support that they do not have because of trauma, because of mental illness. They would be able to have that support and continue to thrive. So many people have said it so well this evening. And I encourage you to look at this as a holistic view to helping your community. These members that we are talking about today are part of your community. I have been in your seat before, or at least one similar. I had to make tough decisions for my city and my community. And when faced with those decisions, I would think, what are the pros and what are the cons? In this particular instance, I see a neighborhood that, while there may be some opposition, is also welcoming, accepting, and supportive. A wildly successful partnership with Weber Human Services and the Weber Housing Authority to run this project. And on top of it, they're not asking for any money. This is a dream beyond any council person's dream, in my opinion. From where I sit, and while I do not know the details or nuances, this is a win-win situation. This has the ability for you as council members and elected officials to do what you are elected to do, to support every member of your community, including those that unfortunately find themselves unhoused because of circumstances oftentimes well beyond their beyond their control.
Thank you,
Thank
Teresa.
you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amy.
It's Amy.
Sorry, I was looking forward. So thank you, Amy. Up next, we have Teresa. Teresa's iPhone. Teresa, it looks like you're muted at this point.
I think she had trouble.
She's on the Zoom through. So Teresa, we're gonna put you back on hold for a second, I guess. We can't hear you. It looks like you just need to unmute yourself. We'll ask to unmute to see if that prompts your phone at all. Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and put your hand up again if you'd like to make a comment, Teresa. We're unable to hear you, so we'll go ahead to in here. So, yep.
Hello and good
Hello.
evening, everyone. Thank you for holding this public hearing on an important issue. My name is Taylor Knuth. I'm a resident of East Central Ogden. I live just a stone's throw away from Lester Park. And I agree with everything that's been said here today. I share Emily's concerns in wanting to keep our neighborhood safe. But what I haven't really heard to talked about today is just basic human dignity and humanity and the responsibility that public servants have to maintain that humanity and that dignity in every person that chooses to call Ogden City their home. We talk a lot, actually. I've heard every one of you talk about Ogden being a community of choice. For Sean and I, being a community of choice about 10 years ago meant buying in East Central Ogden, our very first home. When we were Ogden City residents before that for school, we rented apartments. And of course, today we live in a 135-year-old Victorian that we've been investing so much time and energy in. But I don't look at our unsheltered neighbors and I don't see, I see neighbors. I see neighbors, much like Angela has talked about. And it shouldn't have to require loving someone that is unsheltered to care about this issue. But I'm also someone who loves someone deeply, who could be a client of this housing project one day, chronically unhoused, mentally ill. I actually learned that this individual that I love was chronically unhoused when I was 20 years old, serving on the local homelessness coordinating council and understanding what it means to be chronically unhoused. They're not just numbers. These are people's brothers, sisters, parents, etc. And there are 69 people on that list to receive support from Ogden City, and we can solve 25 of those units in the next 6 months. This is a home run, a no-brainer, like Linda said. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.
Hi, Council. My name is Gloria Frower, and I am a board member for Weber Housing Authority. Prior to that, for 10 years, I was a member of the Olene Walker Housing Loan Fund Board, and I saw so much money being requested from these big developers, and then they'd set aside for homeless. And I always got frustrated because I thought it was a gimmick, you know, that, yeah, we'll set these aside and then we'll get your gap money to build this big, beautiful facility. And I always questioned if they really did rent to people that were in need. So then when I got on this board, and the other thing, I've done property management all my life and rented hundreds of homes in Ogden City. And it meant a lot to me for my homes to be presentable, to be the standard that Ogden City wanted to live by. In fact, we probably helped develop the Good Landlord program. But I just think this money, the money that we've gotten out of grants and whatever, this is where it needs to be. And this is where it'll make a difference. And I want to share one little personal story. Gage and I have a nephew that served 2 tours in Iraq. And when he came home, he got married, and it didn't work because he was broken. And he has left the family. We don't know where he is. He won't call us. His mother is just beside us. She's so sad. He won't contact her. We don't know where Daniel is. And so I just hope, what I'm looking at is the healthy, beautiful people we support out at Hill Air Force Base. And then my nephew Daniel that came back broken. And so many vets could be in this facility and being helped. I hope someone is helping our Daniel the way we hope to help our veterans here in Ogden.
Thank you, Gloria.
Heath Sato, Ogden resident. I had a nice tight 3 minutes. Permanent supportive housing will save us money. It'll save us jailing costs. It'll save us police costs. And I just don't understand if the sheer humanity of this, helping our community, our neighbors, these are our neighbors. They might not have a home, but they are our neighbors. And if we can do something to care for them, we owe them that. If they need our help, and we have a home run like this that saves us money and helps people just get back together, I don't see any reason to not do this. This building is perfect for this. I don't want to see another perfectly good building torn down and landfilled and just to create another apartment buildings. I fully support this, and I hope you guys will too. Thanks.
Thank you, Heath.
I'm Kent Jepson, Housing and Homeless Systems Coordinator with United Way, and excited to be here. Thank you all. I've been thinking as we've been having this discussion today about an experience I had. I have a background in homeless services, and a client met with me that was close to my own age and was telling me about the difficult experiences he had had. And I had about familial abuse and things like that, and I had to think, what if this individual was me? What if I swapped places with that individual? And so that was a very changing moment for me. And so I think it's good for all of us to consider that. What if we were placed in less fortunate circumstances? I think we would all want the voice of compassion for each and every one of us. Housing is what we know helps from studying this issue. It's really what makes a difference, affordable housing. And without affordable housing, homeless people are just going to continue to be homeless. So I think it's on us to do our best and be able to help them and support them in any way we can.
Thank you, Kenton.
Good evening. My name is Robert Hunter. I'm a 50-year Ogden City resident, and I'm happy to be here tonight to represent Chair. And these organizations and many other nonprofits are very supportive of this. We appreciate President Niederhauser being here tonight. He's a very busy man. We call him the housing czar, or that is the homeless czar. The housing czar actually texted me. His name is Steve Waldrop. You all know him. He's on his way to Washington, D.C. tonight. Otherwise, he would be here too, and said to express his support for this project. But I wanted to mention President Niederhauser and his wife have spent hours and hours and hours living with and working with and talking to the homeless people. So when he tells you that a project like this makes sense in a location where they can connect with services, he knows what he's talking about, and we appreciate the leadership he is taking here. You know, relief is on the way. A couple of you have talked to me about AMI, the average median income, and we're as concerned about that as nonprofits as you are. But we've been helping with that. Andy gave you statistics that show that there's been, over the last 4 years, a 69% increase in the AMI in the East Central District. There's been an increase by 21% of high school diplomas in that area. And a lot of this is due to the educational and the nonprofit organizations that are here to support you. We're here to support you. We are your partners. We're helping you accomplish an increased AMI. We're helping you do the things that you need to do to make Ogden City a better place. I'm almost out of time, but I want to tell you about just one specific nonprofit, and it's just one, and that is the My Hometown Ogden. My Hometown Ogden brings in volunteers from all over the place, including Ogden City, but many of them, in fact, most of them come from outside of Ogden to help in Ogden City's neighborhoods. And the report for 2023, the one for 2024 isn't done yet because we're not done with 2024 yet. We brought 4 resource centers for people to learn literacy and increase their incomes and their careers here in Ogden City.
Thank you. Thank you,
The
Robert.
projects that have been done by My Hometown during 2023 are 1,300 projects just in 1 year. 1,300 projects. They weren't outside of Ogden. They were done in Ogden by people from Ogden and people outside Ogden who want to help improve the neighborhoods here.
Thank you.
Those are the kind of things that are being done here, and we appreciate your interest. We appreciate the time you spend, and we hope that you'll support us so that we can continue to help you do what you want to do.
Thanks,
Thank
Bob.
you.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Lauren Navadomskis, and I am the executive director of the Lantern House Homeless Shelter and Soup Kitchen. I am so proud to be here today in support of the Aspen Project. This last fiscal year, 12% of those that called Lantern House home fell under this chronic homeless definition. 12%. We served about 3,300 people. We're asking for 25 people that we need a safe place for them to go. There are handfuls of evidence-based practices that work, that lead to ending homelessness, but there's one that is undoubtedly the most successful, and that is housing first. If you want to end homelessness, you provide housing, and that's what you're doing here today by approving and submitting your approval for this project. One thing that we've heard over and over again, and I face this battle every day, are our community. Is it our homeless community? Is it our service community? Or is it our Ogden City community? These are members of your community. Our community members need our help. They need our support. And these projects, this project specifically, is here to guide them to self-sufficiency and have them members in this room, maybe sitting in your chairs one day, and this is the support that they need. Permanent supportive housing, permanent. It's something that guides people to long-term solutions. Housing, again, it's the answer to homelessness. It's what people need. It's a safe place for people to go, a roof over their head, something to do and provide for themselves. Like we heard tonight from a participant, some independence to do what they want to do under their own roof, make it their home. Supportive. We have 2 phenomenal programs, Weber Housing Authority and Weber Human Services, that have dedicated their time and their efforts in this community to supporting these people, and this project is that answer. Lantern House and the staff are excited to see this project come about, and we know that housing is ending homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
My name is Jenny Nagy. I'm an Ogden resident. I will try to keep it short. I want to state my support for this project, echo some of the reasons that other people have given this evening, including the savings on public services, emergency medical services, police services that tend to be called less when people are housed in a safe environment. And then I will also just say that I've had the pleasure of working with Andy Beatles in a variety of contexts, and she has a great deal of integrity. So I have a lot of trust in how this will work out. So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenny. Let's go ahead and try Teresa online again. So Teresa, we'll go ahead and turn the time over.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Can you hear me? Awesome, thank you. This is Teresa Bramwell. I wanted to speak on this because I have been a crime victim probably 500 times in Ogden City, just a couple blocks away from where this is located. And the people who are committing the crimes against me are the people that are either being housed in the apartment buildings surrounding my location, or their friends who are coming to visit them who are homeless. You've heard from a lot of people today who are making a lot of money helping homeless people, and I don't dispute that they are helping them, but there's a lot of other community members who are paying their own way, that are paying taxes, that are just being victimized every single day by people who are being helped by somebody else. So what I need to know is who the responsible party is. Is Andy going to be the responsible party? Is this building that they own going to be put up as collateral for damage that's caused to the surrounding community? Can we create a fund? Can Niederhauser, who's there in the room with you, can he create a victims fund for the East Central community, since we've all become, chronic crime victims? Because that's what my main concern is. Not that people are being helped. I'm sure they're being helped, and then they're leaving and they're coming over to my house and they're committing all their crimes and doing their drugs and passing out and almost dying in the driveway and all those things. And I am not the right person to deal with that, because I am not schooled to deal with homeless people. I am not being paid to deal with homeless people. All the people that you've heard from today are the people that are being paid to deal with homeless people, and none of them are being responsible for the crime that is happening to everybody else. So I sure hope that if this is approved, that there is a victims fund that is millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to help
Teresa.
the victims. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Bishop. Thanks for having me. I'm an Ogden resident. I live about half a mile that way, which is kitty corner from Teresa, the property that she owns but does not live in. I've lived in this house for 6 years, and I've had maybe 2 incidents of somebody coming over the fence from Oasis, which is right behind us, or coming up the driveway or something. I have no reason to believe that they were unsheltered people, nor any reason to believe that my house is subject to crime any more than anybody else's in Ogden. So just to kind of put my my vote in for this project, like I said, I've lived in this neighborhood for 6 years. I work from home. We lived in the neighborhood for 10 years, in this house for 6. I work from home, so I'm there all the time, 24/7. I see people walking by all the time. I know their names. We also have 2 more permanent supportive housing units on the corner for Waterfall Academy, which helps youth who might someday become some of the people who would be on the list for this. So, and those are the best neighbors that we have. I know their names. It's so comforting to know that they have help. They help other people in the neighborhood. So I see this as a huge asset. As somebody who lives about 1/3 of a mile south of there, people have said it already. It's kind of a no-brainer. I definitely empathize with the different experiences that some of my neighbors are having, and I would love to help work with those people just as a private citizen, as someone who's not making any money from this situation, has no vested interest in Weber Housing Authority or in permanent supportive housing as a model. Just a neighbor who thinks this is a great idea, and I would really encourage you to keep talking to people in the neighborhood if this is a no for you or a no for now. there's a lot of power in speaking to us, the people who live in the neighborhood, because there's a lot of talk about the neighborhood sometimes that says it's too much of a burden for people. It's this, this, and that. And there are a lot of statistics, but the stories of the people who run the library, the people who live here, are very important. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sean.
Hello, council members. My name is Fernando Morales, and I'm here as a director of 211 and United Way Northern Utah. As a director of 211, I often get calls from people in their community experiencing all kinds of situations, and housing is continue being one of the biggest topics on that. And I have to check with myself between Thanksgiving and Christmas every day, because it's hard to hear about people who are suffering during the holidays and not even having a place or being evicted from their housing right before their holidays. And a lot of them, they're just looking for an opportunity. They're looking for an opportunity to establish their dignity, an opportunity to really get on their own feet, strap their boots, and go to work on the things that they need to do. And this is what this project proposes, which is an opportunity for them. Not less than 2 hours ago, the majority of us was just across here in a couple blocks talking about giving people opportunity with a chicken or an opportunity with something else across the world, another part of the world. And here we have an opportunity that does not even require public funding to really give to this community an opportunity that will help the dignity of those who are around them. We can, and I know that by giving the opportunity, they're not all become criminals. I mean, we have a society now, and I'm part of a community who is often criminalized just for being in a certain category. And so often that happens with those who experience their own house and experience homelessness. But not necessarily I know that if they're given the opportunity, the majority of them will be good to our community. And that's why I'm supporting this effort.
Thank you, Fernando. Any other comments?
Hello, my name is Kimball Kelsey, and for the last nearly 18 years, I've been a social worker with Weber Human Services, serving the population in this region. I want to say thank you for your time tonight and allowing us to speak to this matter. For the last nearly 18 years, my efforts have been focused on serving the homeless population, and we've discovered that for many people who are homeless, especially with 1 or 2 episodes of homelessness, they can, with support, enter into an apartment and live independently and achieve stability. We also have discovered that there's a certain segment of the society that are chronically homeless. They've been housed over and over and over and have failed. And we often expect them to adapt to the housing environments that you and I live in. But we've discovered that we need to adapt and create an environment where they can thrive. And I am very confident that Aspen Care will succeed. Approximately 3 years ago, we approached our administration and in collaboration with Weber Housing Authority created the SHIP program, which Andy alluded to recently. This environment houses our clients with a history of chronic homelessness, and they have been successful. We attribute this success to on-site support, which provides supervision and skill building supports, a locked and secure facility, which is essential, with video surveillance and access to amenities which promote independence, such as laundry, appliances, microwaves, and refrigerators. With these creature comforts that many of us take for granted, these vulnerable clients can achieve a sense of stability, comfort, and a place to spend their days, removing them from the streets, creating a safer environment for the entire community. Victor Hugo, one of my favorite authors, once said, "It's man's consolation that the future is to be a sunrise instead of a sunset." And we are confident that the Aspen Care Facility will provide a safe, comfortable place for these individuals within our community and give them something to look forward to, hope, just like a sunrise. Thank you for your attention regarding this matter.
Thank you, Kimball.
Good evening. I know that you're about ready for bed because it's getting close to my bedtime. Gage Frohr. Just a couple of thoughts. I've talked to several members of the council, and I understand the issue that you're facing with housing. I've been in the housing business in Ogden City for 50 years. My family's been in the housing business in Ogden City since 1914. So one thing I think we understand is housing. And housing becomes critical to this segment of our society that we didn't see back in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s, the problem that we have today. And I can understand your issue that I see on a weekly basis at the county, that Ogden City is bearing more than their fair share. And I don't disagree with that. You are. But let me just give you my opinion. Turning down this project will probably not improve that situation. I think you still have those residents, you still have that community that come here for services. So those people aren't just going to disappear. They're not going to go to Pleasant View, West Haven. They're going to stay here. So the answer, in my opinion, that what you need to look at is how can we look at the state law. President Niederhauser and I worked on that for a year when we were back in the legislature. How do we encourage other cities, communities to provide affordable housing? I think you'll see some legislation that we've actually talked to several legislators this year that will do more than encourage, that may have a little more stick or firepower to them to encourage these other cities to do their fair share. So again, I appreciate your situation. I would hope that you would look at all the people that have given up on their time. I appreciate your time, understand your issues, and would appreciate you taking that under serious consideration before you place your vote tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, Travis Pate, actually indirectly a former resident of this space. My mother was housed there, and the dynamic to me is once you concentrate efforts in one place and say, we the government, and we actually the not quite government, but government, and we're not going to be government, are the end-all cure-all for this. The city, when there was a need for, how many high-density housing units we got? Let's call Cowboy Partners Limited. Let's call this group. Let's call this group. And yet, when, for this particular project, did we call Avamere? Did we call The Lodge? Did we call Nebekers and say, hey, guys, come downtown. Let's look at our facility. Let's share some space. Can we have 3 units at Avamere? Can we have 3 units at The Lodge? Can we have 3 units at Nebekers? Let's decentralize the chronic aspect of this. Let's look at Avamere. Oh, yoga, art, craft. Let's look at this. Isolationism, isolationism, isolationism. Horribly tragedy. Where is my mother going to stay if the circumstances that we want her in the neighborhood? Oh, we just took up all 25 beds. For, as one individual said, some individuals that have chosen, but then by default, mental health and physical health and medical bills have allowed them to almost just be dehumanized. Completely, we talk about a vulnerable position and vulnerable individuals. If any of you, and these were our cousins, our friends, our brothers, our sisters, and we say, where are you going to live? Well, over there, the county has a place. We would go there. We picked that place for my mother. And I think the same thing, if none of you have been to the site, it is, as Mr. Bishop said, no for now. Okay, how many beds can be made available for the East Central community for an individual that might have a stroke? Nope, go out to these high-end places, go out to these unaffordable places, or places that insurance comfortably covers, or moderately affordable places.
Thank you, Travis.
So I think that that's to me, and we tore down St. Anne's, Ogden City. We already had a facility, alternate facilities. So no for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Deborah Darrington, resident across from Angela, but I also, my first investment here in Ogden was in this particular area, and I have 16 years of ground zero experience with that area, and it's a tricky part of our city. I came here tonight for information with a very open mind, and I'm glad that I approached it that direction. A lot of information, very good information, has been given. As with any issue or any matter, there's at least two sides to that, and we have those who do stare down the hallway of that, who have invested already in this area. They aren't donating 30% of their income, they're donating 100% of that, and if she's anything like my kids, they're also looking to mom and dad for a few extra dollars to keep that project that they have invested in going. At the same time that I invested in this area, I bought a home helped co-sign on a home for my son and for my daughter, whereas 20-year-old category children, they entered into Ogden wide-eyed, and they are both still here. However, my one son did lose his home and showed up on my porch this June asking if he could use my washing machine, and I learned as a mother that he had been living in his car for the last 3 months. So I have sincere concerns on both sides of the board. What I do ask Ogden City is this for that area, no matter what your decision is tonight or in the future, that area needs Ogden City's focus, effort, and support greatly. I have called the police and been treated as though I was the criminal. I have shooed more than my share of drug dealers off of my front porch. I had a squatter that took me 21 months to get out of my home there who never ever signed a lease. So I know my time is up, but what I would ask, I think this is a very, very good project. I think it shows great signs of success, but I also think that there are those who deserve more time. And so of all the comments I heard tonight, the one that stuck to me the most was no for now. Not no forever, but just no until we have more information and more community resources and support for those who have already invested 100% of their housing.
Thank you. Okay, any others?
Hi, I'm Rachel Hopkins. I'm a resident of Ogden since 2006, live here with my family, and I also work in the mental health field as a therapist working with this population. No one asks for a mental illness. It's not something that anyone would ask to have. It's something that you're dealt with. And the individuals that we're talking about being housed in this program, they've been dealt a really hard hand, and they're not the only ones, but they're who we're here talking about today. And the things that make a difference, as has been talked about today, and it's been really wonderful to hear all the people coming to support and to see the other side of that as well. But the thing that makes the difference is not just the housing, as we've talked about, it's the community, the support, the purpose that a program like this can bring these individuals. And as so many people have already stated tonight, these individuals are already here, they're not going anywhere, but to provide some human decency to them that has already been lined up. The funding, the space, the support, the structure that has been evidence-based to shown to work, all of that has already been worked up. Those that are saying maybe no for now, this is not something that has just been written up right now. There's been years and years in the making of this project, and to see the potential that it could stop here is just heartbreaking, because we've been seeing so much work already put into it, and the solution is here. And it's an ongoing problem. It's not going to go away with this, but this is the best solution and going to come with the most support to help these individuals and our community in general, and to provide some human decency and support for those that have been dealt this hand that they did not ask for. I think it's the least we can do for our community.
Thank you, Rachel.
Marcy Valdez. I work at United Way in Northern Utah. I also have the privilege and honor of serving on the Weber Housing Authority Board. I did want to address the neighbor's concern about the maintenance and just say, you know, the Housing Authority purchased this building quite a while ago and has been doing what they can given the circumstances with the different things we've had to jump through with the city and other things to get to this point. But Andy Beatles and the board and volunteers have worked hard to try to maintain the building to the best of the ability while we've been in this holding pattern. I had the opportunity in September to show up with a group of volunteers to help do some cleanup around the building and inside the building. And I remember talking to Andy Beatles. I'm not sure if it's the same parcel that the neighbor pointed out, but it was currently owned by a different property. And they had been trying to negotiate with Andy to purchase that. And I'm not sure if that is the same property, and maybe Andy could speak to that. But, you know, in September, it wasn't owned by the Housing Authority. But, you know, I think an empty building brings more concerns than a well-maintained, well-managed building that is filled with wonderful people who are trying to change their lives. And as other people have mentioned, this is my second round with the Weber Housing Authority. I choose to serve because Andy is an inspirational leader who cares so much about the community and the individuals that she serves, and she is responsive. With other properties that the Housing Authority owns, when there's concerns, she works hard to address them and seek help from wherever it's needed to make sure that those concerns are addressed. So again, just thank you for your time. I know that it is a tricky situation and there are lots of issues to consider, but I can vouch for Andy and her commitment to the success of this program and partners like Weber Housing Authority who will be there right with her.
Thank you, Marcy. Okay, we want to thank everyone who spoke with us today, and for those online as well. And I also want to recognize there were quite a few email communications that came through, and for those that came through today, I haven't had a chance to review all of those. Heath, I'm looking at you. But I did see that we had some of that as well. So. With that, I don't know if there's any discussion I'm just kind of going through. I don't know if there were any specific questions that we wanted to look at. We appreciate the expressions of support and both for and against. And I also want to just say thank you for the civility and the dignity and the mutual respect as different opinions were shared. That's important, and appreciate that very much. So thank you for that. Any discussion on the council?
You know, we took a lot of public input tonight, and we did not have a work session on this. I know a number of us met with Andy informally and with Robert and with Kenton and others on this subject. But with all the input we got tonight, maybe it makes sense that we have an opportunity to digest this a little bit and address this formally at a date certain in the near future.
Is that a motion?
I would support that. I have probably 10 questions that I would like to have answered a little more.
Yeah, I think, Chair, that there are some, we've heard one side of the issues tonight. This group was pretty successful at getting all the people that agree with them to come and make public input. But as you all know, we've gotten some public input from constituents that didn't show that have different points of view on this, and so I'm very happy to make this a work session topic since we have not had one, and so we can flesh out some of all these things.
I support that. And I only got one other, I think, correspondence that was against it. So if you have others, would you mind sharing it with all of us?
I'll look through them.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
I also had some input from people who didn't write it out.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Okay. Mr. Chair, before a motion's made, I have a couple of comments. First of all, express my thanks and respect to the people that are here today. I just have immense respect for Bob Hunter. I serve with him on that page board where we work with chronically, critically vulnerable, mentally challenged people, emotionally challenged people. Kevin Easton, I serve on a board with him at Weber State, and just have great respect for you as well as many others here in this room. And I agree with some comments that were made. We've heard a glowing review of of how this can help people, and I don't doubt this. I just strongly agree with that. But as an elected official for Ogden City, my concerns are how this affects utilities, services, loss of tax base. So there's some painful acceptance on my part as I look at that, and I also agree that it might be well for us to review this as a city council. I'm disappointed in saying that because I'm a guy that likes action, and I strongly support what you want to do. But this affects the city in kind of a major way, and I still want to express my support for the project. But I also agree that we have some issues that as city council people we need to be informed about, that how this affects the city. And so we represent the residents of Ogden City, we represent the taxpayers, and so I hate to disappoint anybody, but I agree that this would be well for us to take a review of this, because for me it's not a no-brainer. And it just hurts me to say that because several of you stated that this is a no-brainer, but I think as elected officials we do have a due diligence process that we need to follow and look at in a deeper sense. And so as much as I support this project, I want it to be successful, I think we also need to take a broader view that would help me to have some relief in my heart so that I can say that I fully 100% am behind it. So anyway, Mr. Chair, that
Thank you. Thank you for those comments. Any other comments down the line?
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Probably for our staff. I know as we get into December, this is kind of crunch time. Is there time limits that constrict us, or are we up against the deadline?
Not on this particular item, but there are other things that I need to talk with my staff and administrative staff about whether we can move some things around, because right now the work sessions are pretty full for the next 2 weeks. So it might go into January, and I'm happy to work with Andy to find a date that works for everybody. But I do need to review some with other staff members to see what we can move.
Thank you.
Well,
so before a motion, I just also want to again thank those who came. I when I met with Andy, I had a great conversation, and I do generally am supportive of this. I have been on both sides of this issue and kind of conflicted in a lot of ways as well. But you know, the idea that we have an opportunity, I believe that by bringing them all, bringing that group together and in a centralized location, the good has that potential to outweigh the potential negative impacts. And I'm definitely sympathetic to neighbors who may view this differently, and I'd love to have more conversation along those lines to understand that. But yeah, I agree. This is a difficult thing, and but I appreciate those who came. So thank you. Okay.
Okay.
So
Chair,
a motion.
Can I try something here? I was just reviewing the calendar with our executive director, and I would propose that we table this to January 14th for action, and put a work session for January 7th. That's what the calendar looks like. It will work.
So it would be the 10th would be the next work session, right? 7th is Saturday.
Sorry, I must have it.
Oh, we're getting the wrong.
Let's look.
I got to put my spectacles on,
Okay,
Sarah.
that's all right.
It's my mistake.
It's okay.
Look at my calendar.
Yeah.
Let's get on the right month, right? No.
2025? We're talking about?
Oh, you're talking January 7th. I was talking, okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking December still. So, okay, thank you for that. You're like,
Yeah,
no.
that's just like an 18th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, so a motion to work session on January 7th with an action on
January 14th.
January 14th.
I guess you should check with Andy Beatles to make sure that works for her.
What time is the work session?
Work session is 4 o'clock. Okay. And then, as was mentioned, there were a number of questions that were had. So we have our leadership meeting tomorrow where we can maybe gather those all together.
Some way, I think that'd be good, just to get it.
And then get those to work
Yeah.
with Andy to try and get a presentation that would address the questions that we presently have, and maybe we'll continue to have as we receive more input on this.
I'm assuming you all have
That'd
questions
be
as
good.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get them to you too.
Yeah, if you have questions
Janine.
specifically regarding this, if
I'll
you can
go
get
to
those to us, then or to Janine, then we will compile those and see if we can make sure we address all of those. So we have a motion to continue the item for a work session on January 7th and for action on January 14th by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Councilmember Chaburka. I believe this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Looks like that passes unanimously. So, okay. All right. Thank you for those who were here for this. I think we're all clear on that. Any additional clarification, Janine?
It was.
No,
it was
thank you.
Okay.
Y'all don't have to leave. We still have more.
Yeah, we still have more. So,
Yeah.
Leanne, are we okay? Do we want to take a quick? You're okay. Okay. So we've got a public comment, and then we'll move into our final meeting, the special RDA meeting. So let's go to that. So okay.
Chairman,
go ahead. Yes.
I just wanted to say to Emily, I think she's still out there. Emily Taylor.
Emily
Taylor,
Yeah.
are you still out here where you can hear us? Oh, there you are.
I'd love to get your
Okay.
contact information before you leave, if possible. I mean, but we,
Yes. Yeah.
perfect.
Some to all of
Thank
us.
you.
Thanks, Emily. Okay. At this point, we're at the public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council on any issue that you have or any concerns or on any idea or any topic. Again, we ask that you step to the podium and state your name for the record. And can we get a list, maybe a hands of who is here for public comments? Okay. All right. So if we can limit your comments to 3 minutes, I think we can do that with those that were here. And oh, he did. He got it. Okay.
I raised it small.
He knows the
like,
routine.
Like here. I'll be quick.
You have 3 minutes.
I can do it in a minute. I think it means a lot that Wayne Niederhauser showed up. He's been doing a lot of work on this with the governor, and I appreciate seeing him here. I appreciate that all of you are taking time to look at this a little longer. I know it's one of those things that feels like you're bringing more of an issue into your community, but it's not. I lived in a place that didn't deal with people that needed housing quickly enough or head on enough, and it just keeps getting worse. And again, it breaks your heart as a person to see people in these situations, but it's also just even if you've got it great, it's depressing. It's hard to live around, and we can be a leader in dealing with this straight on. I know we take on more than our part, but sometimes that's what people and communities do. They take on more than others, and that's what good people do. And again, it's not costing us anything. It will actually cost us less in the end, and it will take people without housing off the street. And I don't know what else to say, but thanks for taking a good long look at this. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Heath.
Linda Sanchez. I haven't had quite the opportunity to listen to the work session. However, I did see that they were wanting to increase the police fees, that they were talking about that. And I am not in favor for that, for the fact that we just increased the police budget and their salaries. And then we, the people, have not had really any wage increases. And that is, those fees are what the public would be paying. So I am not in favor of that. So please don't vote for that. I do appreciate that you guys are taking the time to listen, and I do hope that you guys reach out to your constituents and find a way that this can be a win-win, because most of the time, programs like this don't have the whole components of the whole cycle, and sometimes we can break a cycle that keeps ending in homelessness. But I really feel like this addresses it completely, and also that they have somebody there that can help guide them, because sometimes it's just talking to a person that can make all the difference. So thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Good evening, City Council members. My name is Andrea Baltazar. I'm here again to speak about the ongoing issues with the 20th Street construction project. Arbitrarily painting an entire block's curb without explicitly informing residents is plain wrong. Saying the information was available is not the same as making it accessible or clear to ordinary citizens. Homeowners shouldn't have to sift through complex documents, confusing website menus, or expect to attend a meeting only months in advance to learn that their street parking would be taken away. This is a failure of communication and respect for the people you serve. The city justified this by saying that the plans were made public, flyers passed out, and decisions were finalized. So how did I still not know after the fact? Good intentions on paper don't always translate into practical solutions. Taking a simple drive down 20th Street shows that these changes just don't work. 20th Street will always be and is a high traffic road. Adding a bike lane on a steep and congested street creates serious safety concerns for cyclists. What biker is realistically going to use a bike lane to cross 20th Street at Harrison? As someone who lives there, I can tell you that I rarely, if ever, see any cyclists crossing it. Please visit 20th Street for yourselves. In the meantime, our neighborhood is less valuable, less welcoming, and less accessible. How is that progress? Removing parking isn't just about inconvenience for one block. It creates a ripple effect through the neighborhood. Those of us without parking will inevitably park somewhere else, taking up space in neighboring homes and disrupting parking habits. This creates unnecessary frustration in a community already strained by months of construction. Please review the red curb zones and identify where parking can safely be restored without compromising traffic flow or bike lane safety. Is it possible to strategically adjust the red zones and balance safety and practicality? Could the bike lane be rerouted to Brinker or at Brinker or another intersection? Second, I urge you to rethink how the city communicates with its residents. Direct outreach to homeowners that clearly articulate the implication of changes should be a standard when projects impact homeowners significantly. This would prevent the kind of frustration that has brought me here today. I support bike lanes. I support safer streets and progress in Ogden, but progress shouldn't come at the expense of the people who live here. This reflects poor planning and a lack of consideration for community needs. City Council, please reevaluate this project, hold planners accountable, and work with residents for a better solution. Let's make this right for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Andrea.
All right, Travis Pate. I primarily just want to celebrate Ogden in the sense that Christmas Village, if you didn't have the opportunity to come down to the Christmas parade and electric light and see 50,000+, I don't know if the drone did a count or not, but absolutely phenomenal. The part of city services, tremendous. Angela knows our family's had a challenging week this week, and so to have a renewal beyond renewal, it was phenomenal to know I have, quote, that many friends in the downtown. So thank you. Thank you for the love, the support, the strength of celebrating Ogden. We walk outside and we just get to see our whole community on one little block. And it really brings it into perspective, particularly with thousands of people from the entire community supporting us. And if we can get that for turning a little light switch, just think what we can get when we pull together for the homeless,
for the chronically homeless, for those with, as I said, income challenges that may need 5 beds set aside for a local residential nursing home. Though it's just phenomenal. So I thank you as a council. I thank the administration. I thank every one of those Parks and Works people that climb those trees and get those lights out and get them to illuminate and shine and to be possibly quite a little bit more visible than from space. And it was Marquardt Corporation that created those little nozzles that directed us to and from the moon right out of Ogden. The sky bridges of FMC Jetway right out of Ogden. So you really can't get to or from anywhere without going through Ogden, and that includes to or from space. And so I think the dynamic of us being visible from a little light switch and that many people. I had the opportunity to attend the Weber Foundation's Christmas Tree Jubilee. What? Every high school but 2 now have a teen center, which directly addresses homelessness, which directly addresses food, shelter, clothing, cleanliness. They each have shower facilities, and with the most recent fundraising they now have, and oh, what do you have? Oh, in-kind donation, raise the paddle. What, $200,000 without even giving anybody anything, just. And Ogden School Foundation, when they have their guests, and those things that we see that many people invested into the youth. And we see these other individuals that are, quote, youth challenged, and yet we have the opportunity to come together as a community and just benefit them. Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
For everybody. Thanks for the city, and thanks for keeping a light on.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry you had a difficult week. Okay. Looks like that's, so I don't see any hands online. So Linda, yeah, go ahead and review the work session. I think we had there was an elimination of what, 7 fees that were eliminated on the police thing. There may be 2 or 1 or 2 additions. Pretty standard, simple, but mainly to cover costs of the work that's being done. So double check. I would just recommend looking at the work session. You can review that. As far as the 20th Street project and the noticing, I don't know if we have an update on what notices were given and how that was done. And is there, I don't know if there are workable solutions in moving the bike lane or any of those types of things. So if you can, Mayor, if you could address that.
Sure, I can comment just a little bit. And then, yeah, I also had some just general comments during the mayor's portion, but.
Oh, yes, yes.
But just in general, I can just talk about 20th Street and to Andrea's comments. So we did have a third party do the outreach, but we always acknowledge that outreach could always be better. So we've had an opportunity to talk to them about it, and so we know there were some shortfalls, and maybe we'll certainly do better for future opportunities. And we always do try to meet people where they are, to use as many forms of communication as possible. So again, we will, welcome ways to improve that. We do design the roads with safety in mind. There's, always looking at, especially when there's the conflict zones. There's a couple in this particular area. One has to do with the right turn pocket, and then, of course, the other is because we did have a bike lane. As a city, though, we've asked the engineers to go back and take a look to see if there's some different options for the bike lane here. There will likely always be some red curbing because of that right turn pocket, but we'll look to see if there's any way to, maybe reduce the amount of that curbing to handle the bike portion of it a little differently. We don't have any immediate answers for that, but we're going to go back and take a look at that.
Okay. Were there red paint on that right turn pocket previously? Or was it all new, or was there were sections that had some red paint already?
There were some sections. It was very worn. We actually took a look at that today as a executive director team, and kind of looked at old photographs of that area, and there was already some red curbing, but it was very old. It's hard to look at that, but especially in those those conflict zones, those right turn pockets.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that, and appreciate willing to look at those solutions and maybe other ways to address that. So, okay. Any other comments? You mentioned some comments from during the mayor's portion. So
Yeah.
Before we move on to that, sorry.
Yeah, just to council, I just want to express my support to Andrea. I think she's taken a direct support or direct approach to this. I met with Andrea and the Hogue family and the Smith family here a couple of weeks ago, and trying to pull in front of the Hogue family home to find a parking place was impossible. So I parked in front of Andrea's house where she'd already painted the white paint on the curb because it seemed like the only logical place that I could park that was within a block of their home. And those homes all just have single entrance driveways. They're not any double entrance driveways. So I think Andrea brings an important point forward. So just thanks to administration for taking a chance to review that again. I think that's a prudent approach. So thanks again.
Thank you. All right.
Okay, first of all, the mayor does apologize. He's on city business. He really wishes that he had been here for all that public comment, but he'll be reviewing all that. But he had work travel scheduled for a couple months, and so there wasn't a way to anticipate this conflict tonight. I wanted to express just our appreciation for the public services team and public safety and the arts team, the events team, so the CED staff and everybody who contributed to Christmas Village. Obviously, there was a tremendous amount of work that goes in that, as well as all the volunteers on the Christmas Village Committee and the oversight that Stacy from our team does year-round, working with that committee. So I think this has just been an extraordinary year for it. I mean, it was a cold night, but it almost feels like the sort of depth of the crowds at the intersection was almost double what it has been in past years. So it was just an extraordinary event. I'm so grateful to the team that put that together, and it was great to have council members there and the mayor. So it was a wonderful evening. And then, just tonight moving into the Light the World, the giving machines. So another great opportunity for our city and to be able to partner and have the opportunity to give back in our own community locally. And I think that'll just attract more people to downtown, enjoy Ogden, be able to celebrate Ogden. Thank you, Travis. I'm glad that it really has a wonderful impact on all of us individually to see that. So I think it's just going to expand the opportunities that people have to enjoy Ogden. Hopefully, maybe even go out to dinner, do a little shopping, and then do some giving at the same time, and just enjoy some time with their families too. So all around, a great situation that we have. So thank you for that. I think that was all the specific comments that I had to give, but thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, council member comments.
Chair, I have a couple.
Yeah.
The giving machines, I don't know if you took a chance to look at the prices that were being charged for whatever was being donated, but those are bargains. It's kind of amazing how much mileage can be gotten out of that kind of a process. I think it's absolutely great. And to go to Travis's comment about the parade and the lighting of the park, we are supremely blessed to have this facility. I do miss the trains, the train that we used to be carted around with as a council. But the golf carts were really good because we got to have some better interaction with the people, and the youth council did such a good job of decorating the carts, and that was really cool. I was really happy to participate in that, and it was nice to participate with all of you. So thank you so much.
I just had a quick comment, and it was great to see a little bit of the engagement of the public for the Plan Ogden and the general plan. Actually was very surprised at what the community wants and where they want to go. And so I think one of the statements that the consultant made, which I thought was really good, are we becoming something we want to become? And that was a really great statement from that consultant. So really thinking about are we becoming what we want to be? So anyway, I thought it was great. Glad they're doing it. I know it's a lot of work back there. Thanks.
Well, I just want to say thanks so much to all of you for considering, taking some more time on that project because it is very complex. I mean, over the years that I've been involved in thinking about not only this population, but just needs in our community to really make sure that we're helping everybody equitably. It's very complex, so I too have some concerns and look forward to the conversation. And then I also just wanted to send my condolences to Travis and his family over their loss. And, I just appreciate that you always show up. We don't always agree, but that's okay. We're still nice to each other's neighbors, so I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Motion to adjourn by Councilmember Hires, second by Councilmember Blair. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. So we will now take a quick second to reset for the special RDA meeting. So, Leanne, if you'll just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. And Brandon will actively. There we go. Yeah, live editing.
I don't know what public's going to speak, but I mean, I can guess a couple. But,
and Janine.
yeah, and then we're going to table it.
I planned on carrying it over till next week.
Okay.
But
okay.
Because I think Dave wants to have.
We want to have pretty good.
I think Dave wants to have pretty substantial discussion. And it's Marcia turns into a pumpkin.
Yeah.
At 9,
Yeah.
So.
Turn into a pumpkin pretty quick.
Pretty quick. Already.
Continue the work session until next week, or try and go back in the work session.
Next week.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
Well, I think
it can wait till next week. Yeah. Yeah.
We're not gonna.
It's the budget. Yeah, just a more robust discussion on it.
After this at 10 o'clock. Oh, no way. Yeah, it's got to be next week.
After it sinks in. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the Special Redevelopment Agency of December 3rd, 2024. All board members are present and accounted for. We have a public hearing on a item here for the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget amendment, proposed resolution 2024-12. And we have Justin Sorensen, the finance director for management services, here to present on this issue.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, board members. I'll keep this short. I know that there's some other discussion with this budget opening that you're considering. But the action before you tonight, the proposed resolution is to increase the budget in the Adams CRA area. And this would be to recognize the potential loan proceeds that we are pursuing, looking into pursuing to be able to purchase the Forest Service building. So this would be the escrow portion, the 10% earnest money that would be required for the purchase of $360,000. And then the other portion of this budget opening is to use fund balance in the area to put money aside for potential maintenance costs for this building that we would set aside. And then depending on how long we had the building, once it's conveyed, there is cost currently right now that the GSA is carrying with that building. And so we're in anticipation of that. We'd like to use some fund balance in the area to have that budget set aside pending your action. So the total increase to the Adams CRA area would be $600,000. Is there any questions?
I think so. So yeah, just it's okay. No questions at this point. You'll notice those that are here and online that we have amended the agenda for the items 1 and 2 above that. related to the purchase of the Forest Service building, and would anticipate, if there was action on this, to occur next week. And we anticipated a longer night, and so we thought that we could, this was noticed as a public hearing on this item, so I do think we do need to open that up for public input. So if you are here to address the council on this item, you're welcome to step to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, Travis Peak. I think I maybe met some of you before, so one or two, maybe all of you. But this one is the no-brainer for sure, in the sense that I had an internship here, neighborhood development, and was loaned to business development as we purchased the Ogden City Mall, and all the rigmarole that went with that, including maintenance fees and whatnot. And Mayor Godfrey, I think, for one building got a $50,000 electric bill for a month for just one of the buildings, and realized, oh, shut off power. And so this one, the dynamic is we have a chance to preserve the history, just as we have with this building, as we have with Ogden High, and we have the opportunity, again, obviously through that preservation corridor that's in the edict form, the GSA, that it's going to be a great asset to continue to be a great asset to the community. It was over 25 sites that were narrowed out and weeded out before they selected this one, the Fred J. Kiesel home site. He had already built them a Forest Service building where Slackwater Pizza is currently on 24th and Grant, and built them a building there. And so it kind of came full circle that Fred's honor and legacy could go to that. And uniquely enough, Leslie Hodson designed my house for Fred and I. So I'm a little bit biased, I would say a lot of bit biased. But this is a dynamic that I think is a great asset, and I'm willing to share time, talents, and efforts with any consultant you bring in. As some of you might know, I have fairly extensive research of that block. I've lived across the street from it my whole life. My mom worked temporarily in that building. While they were waiting the federal building, worked in the Eccles building until they built the federal building, and then retired from the Forest Service after 25 and a half years. So we're all for it. Even I'm just going to speak for Angela, because this one we agree on as friends and neighbors, and please, thanks.
Thank you, Travis. Any other comments on this item? If not, a motion to close the public hearing.
Chair, I think it might be well if we just continue the public hearing until we get the rest of the stuff together. There may be some more people that want to come and talk.
Okay.
So I would make a motion that we continue this public hearing till the next time we actually work on this.
Which should be next week.
I think it's next week.
Yep. Okay. Motion to continue the public hearing to next week by Councilmember Heyer, or Board Member Heyer.
Second.
Second by Board Member Blair. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Oh, that passes. Okay. And then we have a proposed resolution before us that we need to also have a motion on to, I'm assuming, continue.
Chair, you this thing?
Correct.
The funding needs to.
The proposed resolution 2024-12.
Okay.
I think the motion
For
to
the
continue
public
the public hearing
would
was
also carry
sufficient.
that? Okay.
Okay.
If the lawyer's saying yes, then I'll be happy with that.
The lawyers?
The lawyers, right? Good deal. So that'll do that. Any comments from Executive Director?
No comments, thank you.
Board members? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Board Member Heyer and a second by Board Member Graff to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We did have a work session item that we were looking to continue. We adjourned out of that work session. And in order to give us plenty of time to address that, we will pick that item up next week.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.